Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Ah, week one coming to a close in NHL free agency, and the Islanders are all quiet on the Eastern Front, Grump.
Eastern, Western, Northern, Southern fronts. Every front. Quiet. Everyone.
Oh man, oh man. Today, we are going to be talking a few updates. We're also going to be opening up the phone lines. I know we didn't have them open on Wednesday, the day of the beginning of NHL free agency, but we want to hear what you guys are thinking. You know, what your thought process are, where you think we are as an organization. If you're worried, hey, you want to get some anger out, get some anger out, get some venting out, do that as well, right? We'll be the calm ones, I guess, today, if you want to be angry. But that being said, if you're new to the show, welcome. This is a twice a week Islanders podcast that happens every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. You can also check out another podcast we have, which is a all sports podcast that happens every single Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Now, in that podcast, we talk everything sports. We talk NHL, we talk NBA, we talk college athletics, we talk MLB, we talk anything and everything, European soccer, NFL, anything and everything sports we talk about on that podcast. Also, we've got some fan fights, which are always a fun segment. It's a not trying to be that cheesy, but fan fights are a fan favorite segment. So make sure you give that a look at. Make sure you give that a little listen to if you've got some time.
Absolutely.
Sunday 9 p.m. or Sunday 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thursday 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That could be found in the link in the description below. It can also be found as a featured page on our YouTube channel here, Grumpy. Look at it, TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
I see that. And don't hold TJ accountable to the exact time of the shows because
is that
I often say 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock TJ time.
TJ time. That's right, Grumpy. Oh goodness. Let's first talk about hot topic issue, Grump. It is now Saturday evening, and the Islanders have not made any moves, not made any free agent signings. I think they're the only team who have not made any free agent signings so far this year.
Well, Nashville hasn't signed an outside free agent. They did sign Forsberg, but not an outside free agent.
Okay. So we're the only team. Okay. So Nashville really hasn't signed any free agents, huh?
They signed Forsberg. I think that was their lone free agent signing, if you will.
That was at the end of the day on Thursday. It was like that, but let me take a look. I'll take a look to see if they've signed anybody else. But okay, even if we're one of two teams in the entire league that didn't make any free agent signings, it's not good when you're the last one to make any moves.
How many moves did we make last year on the first 40 days of free agency? None. The year before, how many free agent signs do we have? None. We never make any signings. We don't do anything on free agent days. Just don't. Happy with this team. Greatest team ever in the history of organized sports. Why else? Why would you make a move? We know they don't win anything. What does that matter? Doesn't matter. Frustrating. Just frustrating. But are we surprised, really? Nope.
Not surprised, but I think we all wanted more, and I think we expected more, right? When people had different thought processes coming into free agency. Some obviously, right? You like to dream of the best case scenario, and you probably fall somewhere in the middle, right? It's never as good as you can dream it to be, but I don't think anybody else had a legitimate thought that things would be as quiet and as underwhelming as it currently is. I know people in the comments, right? And we've even said the Islanders are going to do nothing over free agency. But when you say it, right, it's a little hyperbolic. Oh, they're going to do nothing, not going to do anything. But the Islanders seriously have done nothing so far in free agency.
Is it
Absolutely nothing.
is it really hyperbolic? Those are just facts.
Okay, you're trying to conflate it when you say nothing. It's not like okay, when people are saying that, I found it hard to believe that people actually meant the Islanders are going to literally do nothing.
But we
They
never
still
do
may
anything.
do something, but it's just kind of odd that first week through free agency, they have literally done nothing.
But that's what we do every year. We do nothing during the free agency period. Nothing. Nothing. I mean, is there anyone out there that you could even think could help the team now? I mean,
Nobody I'd be interested in.
maybe Kadri, but I mean,
thank you.
do you want to give Kadri a 7-year deal at 31 years old? I don't. I mean, all right, he might be good for a year or two, and then it's like, you got another Anders Lee type situation on hand, or an Andrew Ladd situation before that. I just, again, 31 years old, sorry, not paying. You want to give a guy 31 a 2-3 year deal, that's fine. But no, it's a no for me. What does he help? I mean, he's a better player. He's probably the second best offensive player on the team. But it's like now you got to play shuffle in the deck. Who's going to sit? Who's not? You're going to have to move somebody off your team. I just don't know if Lamoriello is capable of doing any of that right now. I have no faith in him. I don't know if anyone has faith in him.
There is one person who has a lot of faith in Lou Lamoriello, and we'll show that later.
Okay. I thought that just fed you into a nice little segue there, and you just dropped the ball on it.
Grump, because I'm not done talking. There's still a few items I want to hit on this. We talk about, I don't think anybody has faith in him at the moment. I kind of wanted to move that in the next section. I don't think Lou Lamoriello is coming back after next season, right? He's got 1 year left as a general manager. I seriously think he's stepping away at the end of this time period. I could definitely see that. I could seriously see that.
I hope so. But, I hear the comments of the owner, and it makes me say, I'm not thinking that.
Okay, Grump. I know you want to keep hammering that fucking point, so we'll just go ahead and move to that. Go ahead, Grumpy. Steer it the way you want. That's fine.
Why don't you let everyone listen? I think
there's other things I want to talk about. Okay, when you try to plan out a show, you don't go ahead and just go, we'll plop it in anywhere we want, but that's fine. So John Ledecky was caught, or he was filmed kind of walking. They were doing I can't remember exactly what it is. They were doing good works. So they were helping out, I believe, members of the community, altruistic events, very, philanthropic in nature. And he was that somebody saw him on the side of the street when he was walking through a neighborhood, and they said, "Oh my God, that's John Ledecky. I've got a question to ask him," because the Islanders haven't done really much yet. I've got a question for John Ledecky. John Ledecky accepts the interview from the fan on the street.
It's not a fan. It was a guy who's a reporter for Newsday.
Okay, hold on. This was a reporter for Newsday. He took an interview from Newsday as he was walking down the street like this. He should have been much more prepared for this interview then. I guess I never really looked to see the little microphone that they've got at the bottom of that screen. So my mistake. And now if I hide this, you can't see the microphone. How many freaking people on the street have microphones? But thanks for that, Grump. But my God, I would have expected a much more articulate answer than this then. So John Ledecky was interviewed not by a rando fan walking down the street, by the news, interviewed about the Islanders' lack of movement. So I'll just let it take it from here, Grump.
So your message to Islander fans during free agency who may be a little nervous right now is what?
Well, in Lou we trust. Lou Lamoriello, people really quickly forget that Lou Lamoriello won the GM of the Year twice in a row, and he has won 4 Stanley Cups. And if I could bet on one person to bring another Stanley Cup to Long Island, it's Lou Lamoriello. He has a plan, he has a strategy, and he keeps his cards very close to his vest, which is really important when you're trying to build a Stanley Cup winner.
I'll let you first get your response to Grump. You and I disagree on this, but I'll let you first get your response out.
It sounds like he's just clueless to what's going on with this team. to me, it sounds like, hey, in Lou we trust. In Lou we trust. He came out. He actually said that. I mean, if you're looking to get rid of somebody or have somebody's contract expire, you wouldn't say in Lou we trust. Where's the follow-up question? Well, what is his plan? I mean, didn't seem like he had a plan last year or the year before or the year before that. Can you tell us, is the plan just to run the same outfit back every year? What is the plan? Can you give us some type of a little inkling of what the plan is?
Sustenance. Can you
You're
give
the
us
freaking owner. I realize Lou keeps things close to the vest, but you're the owner. Are you privy to the plan? And then he would answer that. And I says, okay, do you think you're going to be able to accomplish the plan? Those are just a couple of easy follow-up questions. Very easy.
And he would, he's gonna beat around the bush. He's not gonna give an exact answer. I'm gonna listen to it one more time and I'm gonna share what I think about it, just so everybody can listen to this fantastic little soundbite and clip one more time.
So your message to Islander fans during free agency who may be a little nervous right now is what?
Well, in Lou we trust. Lou Lamoriello. People really quickly forget that Lou Lamoriello won the GM of the Year twice in a row, and he has won 4 Stanley Cups. And if I could bet on one person to bring another Stanley Cup to Long Island, it's Lou Lamoriello. He has a plan, he has a strategy, and he keeps his cards very close to his vest, which is really important when you're trying to build a Stanley Cup winner.
You know what? Honestly, it reminds me of, Grump. It reminds me. Go ahead, one more time. Give me a last thought on it.
Have the Islanders won a Stanley Cup? When was the last time Lou Lamoriello won a Stanley Cup? 2003.
2 decades ago.
That's 20 years ago. The game has changed. I'm just baffled. Oh, that's how you build it. Keeping your cards close to your vest. That's how you build a Stanley Cup winner. Is that how Tampa Bay's done it? Is that how Colorado did it? Everybody knew what they were doing, and they just made it happen. Well, I mean, if your plan, maybe his plan is to do nothing. If so, he's accomplished his plan.
Well, the other thing is, Lou Lamoriello won 3 cups, not 4. So I'm like, he doesn't even know how many cups Lou won. But that being said, when I listen to that response, it sounds almost like it's theater. To me, it sounds like somebody who's the owner of a company going out there and saying, I'm still trying to sell season tickets because guess what? We're well below the mark right now. We're trying to give these executive suites away. We're trying to fill the seats. And the fan base right now is very disgruntled and upset. We are the only team that hasn't made any substantial additions or re-signings of players. And we're just looks like we're sitting still. I think it's almost like, oh, things are not looking good right now. So I need to reassure the fan base everything is okay, even though he knows it's not okay. There's no way he's legitimately thinking to himself, hey, I trust Lou, baby. Put all the trust in Lou. I believe in Lou. That it's a facade. It's like when they're going out there before the company, they're going to release earnings, and oh my God, the earnings are going to be bad. Oh yeah, we're working hard, we're doing this, a lot of reasons to be excited and enthusiastic. And on the other hand, he knows things are burning on the inside of the company. He knows things are burning from the Islanders inside out. He knows the fan base is upset, disgruntled. He knows based off of those season ticket holder numbers, fans are not happy. They're upset. And he spent how many millions of dollars building this arena?
Okay, but the people that he's trying to hit up for these tickets, they've watched the product on the ice. They've seen how bad it's been. I mean, I don't to me, he seems like he's clueless.
Islander fans, and we discussed this, Islander fans, because of years of futility, decades of futility, have the it could have been worse mentality. That has been beaten into Islander fans after years and years and years of sub-mediocrity. So what he's trying to do, I believe, is go back and say, we're still in this, guys. Things are still going to be in a good direction. In Lou, we trust. Islander fans, we talked about it. What would be the good thing to put on a shirt? Well, it could have been worse. That is what we get beaten and driven into because things are always so freaking bad. At least they have been in the past. Things have been so bad that that's the only way to cope with what you're seeing or the lack of what you're seeing to improve the team and to make it take a step forward. Things could have been worse. That's what he's trying to hammer home.
I
And
mean,
I think like that. Well, he's not trying to hammer home things could have been worse. I think there's a group of the fan base who believe things could always be worse. What he's trying to say here is Lou has had very successful stints as a general manager. He's won 3 cup before, right? He's back to back general manager of the year, and you're questioning him because how could you question him? Look at the results: 3 cups, 2 back-to-back general manager of the year. That's what he's trying to do. I don't believe for 1 second he believes the shit that's coming out of his mouth. And
I
if you
do.
think that, I think you're not seeing you're not seeing the forest for the trees.
I feel less confident that this will be his last year. I think
Really?
I think he's going to let him stay there as long as he wants.
Wow.
I'm getting that feeling. I mean, he keeps on these same talking points. Nothing ever changes. 2-time GM of the year. He made 3 trades in 2 years, and that got him 2 GM of the year awards for suboptimal players. And you gave up a lot. I mean, I don't know. Look at what Tampa Bay did those 2 years. They made moves at the deadline that put them over the top. That's what a real GM of the year does. His team wins championships. We've never won anything. This Islander group has never won anything. Never won anything. Not a division title, not a conference title, not a Stanley Cup. The biggest, what can you say your biggest accomplishment was? You got beat by the Stanley Cup champion 2 years in a row. Whoop-de-damn-do. When he says this, it disturbs me. If he was unhappy, he could have said something like, well, maybe we need to look at doing things a little bit differently. We want to get in on these players more. I mean, what is the plan?
Really quickly, as the owner of the team whose season ticket sales are way down at the moment, why would he be at all saying, maybe I wish we could do things differently? Hell no, he's not going to do that. Just like any type of company, when things are not good, they want to show a unified front. Lou Lamoriello, which all he gives a shit about is the money that goes in his pocket. And you know what? By proxy, the Islanders have to win and be successful for more money to come in his pocket. So that's the extent of how badly he wants a team to be successful. It's not like, oh man, I really love the Islanders. I can care less if we're losing and eating losses every single year. I don't care too much about that. I got enough money. I just really want the Islanders to be successful. No, it's all about the money. And what are you going to do when tickets are way down? What are you going to do? Oh, we believe in Lou. In Lou, we trust. Fan base, you have to trust them. I'm telling you, you are going to be thinking back 6 months from now how foolish you were when you see how solid the team is around the trade deadline, how solid our team is halfway through the year. That's what he's trying to say.
Okay, I think, like I said, listening to him say that what he just said is scary to me. I don't think it's for season tickets. I think he's just trying to, he knows the people are unhappy, the fans are unhappy. So now he's just spitting anything out there to try to do damage control. I don't know. But when his first comments are in Louis trust, his next comment, people forget he's 2-time GM of the year. Who gives a shit? I mean, who did he acquire? Kyle freaking Palmieri, Andy freaking Green, and JG Pajot. Are any of them difference makers? Did they make this team appreciably better? The answer is no. But that gets you 2 GM of the Year awards? Okay. Must be giving those away. I'll bet you 3/4 of the teams in the NHL are probably saying the same things about their GM. Well, we really were GM of the Year. Look what Lamoriello did. Dud. It was a dud.
Yeah, look what he's done. Well, let's kind of move that, right? You think he's going to be here long term? I think it's as simple as that's just speak. That's owner speak. It's like coach speak. It's like general manager speak. They're never going to tell you if he's upset. What, Grump?
Does he strike you as somebody who's really media savvy?
Yes.
Ledecky?
Yes.
Really?
He's the fucking clown that goes out there. Oh yeah, I'm riding the train. Woo. You don't see Malcolm in any of these items because he's the guy who's not at all media savvy. That's the guy who I don't think would have the inkling, would have the ability to do that and ability to conceal his actual emotions. Ledecky is the goofy guy. Yeah, Islander. That's him. There's a reason why they cart him out all the time. We don't cart out Malcolm. Can you even tell me what Malcolm looks like? If you popped up 100 different people and you popped up that goofy ass smile of John Ledecky, I'd be able to say, that's Ledecky. I couldn't even tell you what Malcolm looks like.
Okay. Well, he looks like the guy who plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins, right?
I'm just saying, That's the guy they wheel out to go ahead and to make the public appearances, to show face. You don't see Malkin going down at his office to go ahead and do those philanthropic works to give the vehicles to a family that's impoverished. You don't see him ever on those items. It's always Ledecky. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, where are the follow-up questions? That's a 30-second interview. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Where's the follow-up? The follow-up is, are you privy to his plans? Because it doesn't seem like he has one. I mean, is his plan not to do anything during the free agency period? Because that's what it seems like to me. To fans right now, they're up in arms.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where's the follow-up question? They just let him say whatever he wanted. Like, that's it? Oh, okay. I would ask him another question. Make him at least change his facial expression. Ask him a couple of tough questions. Have the grumpy old man ask him some questions. They would have whisked him away.
Here's the thing. They don't ever ask tough questions. Tim W., thank you for this one. He says, Zach Sanford signed for Nashville. He originally came from, I believe it was the Blues. Or last year he split time between Ottawa and Winnipeg, and he wound up signing with Nashville. So technically, every team in the NHL has made a free agent signing from somebody outside the organization, but the Islanders at this point.
Scary. Didn't make the playoffs. You can't even say, and I hate this phrase when teams use it, we won a championship, let's run it all back. How dumb that is, right? Just stupid, made up. I hate it. But it's like, okay, I could see if you win a championship and your core is rock solid, and you just say, yeah, we want to bring everybody back. That's fine. Is that the case with this team? Even close?
Hell no.
I mean,
I don't know anybody who can genuinely say I have faith in Lou Lamoriello right now. That's why I don't believe Ledecky's being genuine. I believe it's part of the show.
I think he's got him snowed. Oh, he's
you really think
he's of the year.
You really think he's that daft and dumb?
Yes, I do.
No, man, I'm telling you. No freaking way. He's not that dumb.
Like I said, I would say you need to answer the question for the fans. Yeah, we were disappointed we didn't get Gaudreau. Lou's got some more irons in the fire, though. He's got a plan B. He could have said that. He didn't. He didn't say that at all. Well, here's the thing. Lou doesn't have a plan B.
Well, do you remember we talked about how great it would be if we signed Johnny Gaudreau, how he was needed, a necessity, adding a legitimate top-line winger, a guy who could be a fantastic line mate with Matt Barzal? Well, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Elliot Friedman, who on the day of free agency, right, I think he was off a few times on Johnny Gaudreau, reported the big contract offer from the Devils, reported this, reported that. The Islanders and the Devils are the two teams in on Johnny Gaudreau. Well, he and a few other sources that we've got close to the show happen to say that may not be the case. Elliot Friedman said on his 32 Thoughts podcast that he believes, and he said there's no way of knowing this for sure because it's Lou Lamoriello, but he genuinely believes that it was only a 3-team race for Johnny Gaudreau. The only teams that were in on him were Calgary, Columbus, and New Jersey.
No
he also
Islanders?
said that there was no evidence that the New Jersey Devils offered $10 million AAV. So what about the Islanders? Good question. From sources again, it's you never really know with Lou Lamoriello, but I heard sources that he was disgruntled that we were not serious really with the offer, at least comparatively to what other teams had offered him, and he was upset by that. Remember how you said, Grump, and Elliot Friedman said on Wednesday, the day that the NHL free agency started, that Johnny Gaudreau's agent had to reach out to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and we thought that's odd. Why is Johnny Gaudreau's agent reaching out to the Columbus Blue Jackets? And if he was always penciled into going to Columbus, why would they have to reach out? Because they already would have had something worked out before free agency started, right? It doesn't make sense. Why would he be reaching out to Columbus? Well, what we've heard may kind of loop into why they had to reach out to Columbus. Apparently, he was talking with the Islanders, was talking with Lou Lamoriello, and also Anders Lee was there in some capacity. That's the rumor. Don't kill the messenger. It may not be true, but that's just what we had heard. And he was upset that the offer that we had made was not sufficient in that area, and that's when his agent looked elsewhere because he didn't want to buy back into the rebuild. I don't think of the Devils, but I think of Columbus. They're in a rebuilding process too, right? You hear from Elliot Freeman didn't want to buy in on that Devils rebuild. Well, Columbus is in a rebuild as well. People said, "Oh, well, it's because Columbus, Ohio, is such a nice area." Really? Columbus, Ohio is a nice area, Grump? I don't know. So this has brought more questions to the forefront than anything else. We have no idea what Lou actually did or didn't do. But when I see guys like Elliot Freeman coming out there and saying, I'm not sure, but genuinely, I believe it was a 3-team race and the Islanders were not involved in a serious capacity, that fucking bothers me.
Why should it bother you? Honestly, that's exactly how the Islanders operated for how many years now? We're in on these guys, but they're really not.
The futility of the Islanders and the ineptness of the Islanders when it comes to free agency and it comes to wanting to be good is right back here. It took 2 years it took a year or two for it to disappear, and just a matter of freaking minutes, it's back. Because you're right, they used to do that every year. Oh, the Islanders are in on Kachuk. The Islanders are in on this guy. They're in on that guy. But they never were serious at all. And to see when we had the cap space, we had the ability to add a guy who is a franchise caliber left wing, and we could have got him because we had cap space to pair him up with Matt Barzal, which would have really been a dynamite duo. We're not even serious with our offer. That does bother me a lot. It should bother you too, Grump.
What I'm saying is, I'm not surprised. That's the way they've operated forever and ever and ever, just to keep the fan base. Oh, well, let's throw them a bone. Say, yeah, we really want these guys. Oh, we got outbid. This happened. That happened. This way, the people say, oh, at least they're trying. To me, it seems like they're not even trying. It's just, like I said, was that your plan A? Because I can't believe it was your plan A, because if he would have signed that Calgary contract the day before, then what was your plan? I mean, Calgary offered a lot more money than anybody else. And everyone thought he was going back to Calgary. And if that was the case, and Lamoriello doesn't even contact him, what's your plan B? If he would have signed the night before with Calgary, then what were you going to do? And here's the thing. If you offer him a contract, and I don't know if they did, what it was, and he didn't answer positively at all, and all of a sudden you don't hear from him all day, and you hear, because if Elliot Friedman is hearing that the agent is contacting Columbus, don't tell me that the other teams don't know that. They all know it.
Exactly. All that information easily gets spread across the league. And here's the thing. Elliot Freeman, for those of you who are not familiar, he's a guy he's like a Wozniacki of the NBA. He's like Adam Schefter of the NFL. He's like Darren Drager. They get all this information. They're very well connected. It's not like this is, hey guys, I think I've got an inside rumor from my friend whose brother-in-law is with the guy who ties the skates of Matt Barzal. No, it's not like that. Elliot Freeman gets legitimate information. He knows quite a bit of what's going on in the inner workings in the NHL.
Yeah, for me, and I'll just say it again, if Elliot Friedman's hearing it, everybody in the league has heard it. It's not like he's getting fed information from Columbus or from the agent.
Yep.
The agent's there to try to drum up business any way he can.
Yes.
And if he sees, okay, these are the offers we're getting, let's go contact somebody else. I mean, and then you see what he signed for in Columbus. What could the Islanders offer have been if they even made an offer? If they were even in on him. He says he doesn't even think they were in on it. So maybe the Islanders were I don't know who was leaking what. It doesn't matter. He was never coming to the island. Never happening. Because we don't pull off moves like that. Too afraid. I don't know what the reason is. Not good enough to make it happen. Who knows? But, I mean, as a fan, I absolutely believe that the media, the cartel, which I am the enemy of, it doesn't surprise me that they leak all that stuff. Not at all. Trying to keep the fans pacified for another failed season up ahead. Right now, we're not good enough to make the playoffs right now. Not good enough. You look at teams who've made moves post the start of free agency. Look what Pittsburgh's done. They revamped their defense core in one day. I mean, look at the Devils. I mean, they picked up a defenseman today, right? From Pittsburgh. I'm just kind of, and what are the Islanders doing? Sitting on their hands, not doing anything. They think we're good enough. I'm sorry. I just don't believe it.
It's a scary thought for me to even try to imagine. Maybe again, it's the optimism in me to think that our ownership cannot be that dumb. Our general manager cannot be that blind and in the dark from the obvious flaws that we have on this team.
But they've had the same flaws since he's been there, and he's done nothing to fix it. Nothing externally to fix it. Except
this is the first year that we did not see any results of any sorts. This is the worst season we've had under Lou Lamoriello as a general manager, and we had under Barry Trotz. We didn't make the playoffs the first time since those guys joined. It's not like every year in the past we at least won one playoff round, and other times we were more successful. This year we didn't even come close to sniffing the playoffs. 18 points out of a playoff spot. This was the chance to make meaningful moves because guess what? We weren't good enough last year. Here are the results. It's not like, oh, we could say we could hang our hat on making the playoffs and making to the back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. No, there was none of that.
Okay, you don't hang your hat on being a loser. If you're not winning, you're a loser. If you're not first, you're last, as Ricky Bobby would say. But I mean, for how many years now? They admitted it. The GM and the coach admitted it. Yes, we need to get more pop in the offense. We need to go out and acquire some wingers or some offensive personnel because we need to score more goals. Have they ever done that? No. The only time he ever makes a move is when he pisses away draft picks on trade deadline day. That's it. That's all they've ever done. So it weakens our position going into the draft. If we had kept all those picks, think about the picks we could have had all those years. We were just pissing away first-round picks and drafting the likes of Simon Holmstrom. And then you see, Kyle Palmieri, Andy Green, who's gone, Travis Zajac, who cares? And then, J.G. Pajot, who I like, but, it is what it is. He's hurt a lot. No high-end talent. That's the issue on this team. No high-end talent. Just none. One guy who has high-end talent. Everybody else, throw them in the freaking blender, spit them back out there, all the same. All the same. Next year, when we don't make the playoffs again, time to jettison some of these vets. Is Lou capable of doing that? I don't think so.
Well, look at this, grumpy old man. Before we open up the phone lines, Newsday was very tough on Lou Lamoriello after not making any moves, grumpy. And
I don't even read.
This doesn't tell you if this does not tell you how the Islanders media cartel runs, I don't know what will. Grumpy, now what are you wearing? Can you stand up? I want to see your shirt, or let me see your shirt that you've got on. Enemy of the cartel, right? The cartel media. Well, this is a rare necessary. Sorry, I can't read. A rare but necessary accountability check here by Andrew Gross from Newsday. Will it help push the needle? And on the front page, I've got Silence of the Lamb. Honestly, I kind of like the title. The title's catchy as hell. But you should always be critical and dubious of your general manager and the organization if you write for him. That's your job as a reporter. I always want you to be dubious. Please be dubious. It shouldn't just be like, things are going great, we're doing fantastic. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? No, you should always be asking the hard, tough questions. You should always be pressing. And it brings me to another question. When do you think the first time we hear from Lou Lamoriello is going to be? Is it going to be at the NHL trade deadline? Is it going to be the start of camp? I mean, when's the first time you think we hear from Lou Lamoriello?
They'll talk to him the beginning of the season, right? What did they do at the end? Whenever you hear from Lamoriello, it's always damage control, right?
Remember that him 2 or 3 times at the NHL trade deadline when the Islanders did nothing.
And then all of a sudden he goes, he never goes on the regular broadcast. He just doesn't do it.
A sit down with Shannon Hogan.
Over 2 periods, he brought him out. And I said, oh man, they're hearing it from the people. Or they're hearing it from somewhere. They're doing damage control. Hockey trades. Who are you trading? You haven't traded anybody off of this the bloated salary team that you have. Not one player. You trade another first-round draft pick, though. Got no problem doing that.
That was our hockey trade this year. That was our move. That was the big move. I said it on draft night. I said, holy crap, that is awful. That is our big move this year.
I just wonder if Gaudreau rejected them or just said yeah, whatever. Oh, you made me an
Maybe they
offer.
weren't serious. Maybe the Islanders really weren't that serious.
That's what I think. I think they just threw a number out there so they could pacify the fans. And then you
We
listen to
made an
rejection.
offer. We offered him 8.5 or 9 million when every other team's offering more than you. You think he's going to take a discount, having never been on Long Island like that? You think he's going to take the least amount of money to come play for you? That's funny.
Maybe
That's
ownership.
seriously what I think.
Maybe ownership says, you know what? We've given you whatever you needed. You wanted to sign useless pieces of shit like Anders Lee to way overinflated contracts. We've given you everything you want. We build the stadium. The team tanks. No one's going to the games. No one's buying tickets. We're not giving you any more money because we just can't lose tens of millions of dollars every year anymore. We can't do it, though it doesn't sound familiar. So, you can say that you're trying to sign somebody. If Gaudreau will sign for you for maybe they offered him $5 million a year. Who knows? They knew he wouldn't take it. So it's like, no problem. He'll go somewhere else, but at least say, hey, we tried. But you should have had a plan for something else. It just doesn't. They don't. It's plan A or bust. And plan A never works.
Well, here's the thing. I don't even think that was the plan A. I don't think they had a plan, but decides to sit and wait. That is the Lou Lamoriello style. Sit, wait, let the pieces fall, and then try to go ahead and benefit from a bargain deal. You know what it's like? You go to one of those wholesalers where they have a whole bunch of extra merchandise they have to get rid of, and they say, well, instead of charging usually our $15, we're going to be charging down to the low price of $10 for the junk that you really don't need.
You can afford to have that philosophy if your team is loaded up top.
Really good. That's correct.
You can do that. But when you don't have the high-end talent and your team is loaded with second, third tier guys, you're going to have to spend, and you're going to have to spend aggressively to get that type of talent on your team if you're serious about trying to win or not. I mean, they can say they're serious about trying to win, but I haven't seen it. Have there been any big game-changing moves since the new ownership even came in, player-wise? No. Basically the same cast and crew that was here when Garth Snow was the GM and Doug Waite was the coach. Pretty much same guys. A couple of younger guys stepped up who were drafted, but that's it. That's it.
Well, let's go ahead and do this. We're going to open up the phone lines, guys. I know guys and gals. I know that we had a lot of people on Wednesday wanted to call in, share their thoughts, and we're opening up. You could see it in the top left-hand portion of the screen. That's always our call-in number. Yeah, so we're going to open that up. Grump, do you think fans are going to be – do you think they're going to have the attitude today of, well, I kind of expected this, I'm not really upset, or are they still going to be livid? I know if we did this on Wednesday, I'm sure they all would have been upset, but that's a few days to cool off. I'm kind of interested. I wonder how the fan base is feeling at the moment.
I bet all the people listening to this show are going to be angry. That much I can tell you.
Grumpy, we're the positive show, man.
Yeah, I'm positive they're going to be angry.
Oh, man, oh, man. Well, hold on. We've got it. The first one, Grumpy. Guess who we've got calling in first, Grump?
Is it D-Cut?
Yes. Give me a second here. I'm trying to – oh, man. Did I forget how to damn link this stuff up? Hold on, D-Cut. I'm trying to get us linked up here, buddy. Oh, man. You go away. We haven't done one of these in such a long time. It says that we should be connected. D-Cut, can you hear us?
What's up, TJ?
Oh, hey, D-Cut. How are you?
I know.
Good, Ron. What's up, buddy?
I know that you are ecstatic with the job Lou Lamoriello has done this offseason.
Well, let me first say I was tough on TJ the other day, a little tough on Grump as well. My apologies, guys. You guys came on at the wrong time. 8 o'clock. The signing was at 7 o'clock. I mean, my fist was through the wall, so it was just bad timing. But you guys are the best. Couple of things. A couple of things. What bothered me so much and why I was so mad wasn't that Gaudreau didn't come here. Great player, would have been terrific with Barzell. But I expect to lose out to a team like the Rangers with Panarin, or even Toronto with Tavares. But when you lose out to Columbus, I mean, the dregs of the NHL, Everyone's been leaving there. They've been jumping ship for the last 3 or 4 years. When you lose out to a team like that, something is wrong. I mean, think about it. New practice facility, brand new arena, went to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 out of the last 3 years. Stable ownership, all the things over the last 30 years that we've been hearing that's been holding free agents back from coming here. All the media cartel, Ledecky, even Lou said this would attract free agents. When you lose out to Columbus, something is terribly wrong. The perception of the organization by players in the league, not on the Islanders. Once they get here, they love it. They generally re-sign if you look. But the players who've never been here, we are a dumpster fire, and it's not going to change anytime soon. It's sure not going to change with Lou because he struck out now. I'm going to give a pass on Tavares. He struck out bad with Panarin. He got used. It was terrible. And he looked like an old fool. I mean, at this point, and I was talking to BP, and shout out to Al's Misery and all the boys. And I'll hang up in a second. I was talking to BP. At this point, really what you have to do, forget free agency. Don't tease the fans anymore because it just lets them down and pisses them off. Guys like me who've been with this team since the mid-'80s and haven't seen one cup. What you do is you trade for players because once they get here, they love it, and you develop a farm system. Grump, you've been saying this for years. Put your money into your scouts. Put your money into an assistant GM who could – I know they got this guy who's supposedly this fixer who's going to get guys from Europe. That's what you have to do when you're a team like the Islanders. I mean, do you guys disagree or what?
We're going to let you go, D-Cut, and we'll address those for certain. TJ, if you want to pick up that other call.
Buddy.
Thanks
for
so much.
calling, D-Cut.
Always the first call. I'm just going to disagree with one point that he said. We can compete with that in the salary cap world. You can compete with any team. You cannot, particularly in the NHL, because you cannot spend above the cap. So go ahead, TJ, go.
I'm thinking the way I'm thinking with this one, Grump, is the optics of that. And it kind of, because it's all kind of fresh. That was not something I really had thought too much about. The optics. We lost to Columbus. Remember when Columbus had to do absolutely anything and everything they could to try to go ahead and keep? Remember, they wanted to keep, was it Duchesne? That was, who the hell was it who was there?
Duchesne, Bobrovsky.
Every single one of those top two, every single one of them left. They tried to do anything they can to show them that they were the real deal. Right. They tried to do anything they could to show that they were the real deal, Grump. And they're in a situation where hemorrhaging talented players, all-star caliber players left and right, and now they're not necessarily a huge destination for free agents. It's not like people fall in love with Columbus, Ohio. Let me go live in Columbus, Ohio. Go Buckeyes or anything like that, Grump. It's not the case. And, so that the optics of that is kind of odd.
I mean, and here's the issue. I think you need to build from within. You need to have a better scouting system, better draft class. Do not trade any more draft picks. I keep saying it every year. Your team's never going to get better if you want to live on the hamster wheel. Just not going to get better. Blow it up. Absolutely just blow it up. I'm in total blow it up mode now.
Hey, Brendan. I think we've got Brendan on the phone. How are you, Brendan?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, how are you? What's going on? What are your thoughts here?
Oh, I got thoughts all over the place on this one. First of all, before I get into my Lou bashing, I do want to say, because the dust has settled a little bit and everything that's happened. I think without Gaudreau, there was really nobody else to sign for that first line winger spot. So, I think a trade is necessary. I am outside of signing Gaudreau, but funny, the video that's going viral with Ledecky. I was actually there. That was my buddy who won the truck, and and I asked Ledecky towards the end. I said, "Hey, John, am I going to have anything to be happy about tonight?" And he goes, "Well, what do you mean?" I go, "You know what I mean, John." And he goes, Lou always says, if you got time, use it. And that really scares me.
Again. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, if that doesn't scare you, I don't know, because I feel like how much time do we need? How much time does this guy need to bring in that legit, first line winger that we can put with Barzell that we've been dreaming about. Like, how long do we have to wait as fans? I'm a season ticket holder. It pisses me off. But it's scary.
For me, I'm just like, in free agency, you don't have all the time in the world. You want a talent, you have to go out and get them. You have to court those players just to say, "Oh, you got time use." I mean, like I said, he's like a Lamoriello puppet. I think Lamoriello. Did you see Lou behind him? And was he going like this with his mouth? That's what I think was happening. He was just running his mouth, and Lou was speaking. That's what I think was happening. I just don't want to hear those.
What it was. It was Lou speaking out of his mouth. That's what's scary. It's like you were saying. Is the ownership just fooled by him?
That's what I think it is.
Or do you think he's just using those points because that's what Lou's always done? Jesus, that's scary.
I think.
And I have one other thing. I have one other thing I want to say about the conversation I had with him the other night. We were talking about how Friedman's saying he wasn't in. The Islanders possibly weren't in on it, and it actually shocked me. Wadecki said to us, he goes, that agent, he's a real piece of work. And I was like, whoa, he's actually going there, And he's like, they just use this. You know what it's all about. And he did the thing where, you rub your fingers like the money sign. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, you're saying that with money, but it's known that he walked away from Calgary for money.
Yes.
So I don't really, where are you going with it? And yeah, I mean, they got to do something. And to be fair, if we didn't land Gaudreau, I've been saying it since day one. I think the move is to make a trade because I don't see anybody else out there that I really think would have made an impact that we need.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Brandon. We'll talk about that.
Thanks so much, Brandon, for the call.
No problem.
Any inside scoop?
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
No, that's all I got out of them.
More than the media cartel's gotten out of them in years. But thank you, Brandon.
Oh no, you can't expect the media to do anything.
No.
Thanks, Brandon.
They won't.
Wow, Grump.
For me, when he says it's about the money, he didn't sign for, and look what he signed for in Columbus. That was a below market deal. So what were you expecting to pay him? $7 million. We can't pay him more than Anders Lee. I mean, was that the mentality? I don't even know.
That agent was a real piece of work.
See,
they deal with sports agents all the time. They're like that, just like the clients are like that.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, they're going to ask for the moon. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, just like I said, finally the truth came out at the end. They didn't want to pay the money. They're cheap. The only guys they want to pay are guys who've been here forever, who they consider loyal soldiers. Ugh.
Doesn't that just make you feel fantastic, Grump?
I'm disappointed. I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed.
Disappointed is an understatement here.
What does it say about Matt Barzell? If you're Matt Barzell, what are you thinking now? What are you thinking?
I don't know. Hey, James, how are you today?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
I mean, thank God the Yankees are winning tonight, 8-1.
I'm disappointed. Let me tell you something. I'm disappointed. Listen to me, James. Matt Carpenter, who's on TJ's fantasy team, has 2 home runs and 6 RBIs tonight. I'm getting trounced.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry, James.
Yeah. 2 bombs, too, anyway. But, TJ, you made a point. I'm really, really worried about what Barzell is thinking of. I mean, we cannot have another, let this guy go, and I'm just really, really worried. Like, what is he thinking now? Like, there's nobody to help on my line, and you guys and the people upstairs didn't get one player at all. I don't get it, man. And I'm also worried that how better the Rangers are going to get. That's a concern. If you're a season ticket or any fan who goes to the games and the Rangers come into town and you got to deal with them, I don't know, man. I don't even know if I want to renew my hockey package on Verizon.
Wow.
Well,
I don't know if I want to see this team.
I'm going to renew my hockey package only because I have to watch all the games. It's part of the gig, so I'm going to do that. But I will. I mean, for me, like I said, for me anyway, I would almost say, okay, Plan A didn't work. Let's make sure we sign Matt Barzal long term this offseason. And if he says no, move him. And it's time to start over. It's time to start over because when he leaves, if he leaves, you have nothing on offense.
You have to start over. If you have to ask him right now, do you want to stay with this team or not? If not, you got to get some trade value for him.
And that's when you start moving everybody without any value. Brock Nelson, goodbye.
Yeah.
Everybody, because you know you're in full start over mode then. Full start over.
Right. And you're right. I think this is it for Lou. I mean, if they don't make you'll know when this team is not going to make the playoffs, like a month left in the season. And by then, Ledecky, I don't know what he's doing. If I was the owner, I'd be like, Lou, what are you doing? You didn't do anything? I'm sorry. I'm going to have to hire somebody who's got, what, to get somebody in here. And you're not cutting it, man.
They should have done that already.
It's not 1995 anymore. Yeah.
Very
true. I was great. I was happy when we got Lou, but, like you said, he's 80 years old.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the call, James. Thank you so much. We love you.
Thank you, James.
And I just want to say
later.
Thank you. Lamoriello did serve his purpose. He gave the stability and respectability for the organization, but it's time to move on. He got rid of Barry Trotz. Now it's time to move him out too.
And James feels just like most Islander fans do.
I will say that so far it's 0 positive Lou thoughts and 3 negative on the calls.
We haven't seen too many of those.
No positive calls yet for Lou Lamoriello.
We haven't seen any positive mentions yet. But I think, though, James is how most Islander fans feel. I really do. You see every other team making legitimate improvements, sometimes 1, 2, maybe 3 pieces to round their team out. It's not like this is a team that couldn't use improvements, and it's not like this is a team that was up against a cap and couldn't make cap space. That's not the scenario with this team. We had cap space, and we've got ourselves a situation to where we could use improvements, and the only improvement we've got right now is a second pairing left-handed defenseman. It's just not enough.
Which we needed. Which we did need.
We did need that, but it's just not enough. We're not a team that only needed one piece away from winning a cup. We just weren't that.
No.
So, James, you feel exactly the way most fans do. You're feeling the same way I am, and we're just kind of flabbergasted by the whole thing. I just when I'm trying to find ways to go ahead and try to rationalize what's going on and the lack of movement, I really I find it tough and hard to believe that right now we're in a spot to where they really believe the team is solid as the way it's constructed. It's hard. It's so far-fetched for me to believe that type of ideology. But here on the phone, we've got Paul. How are you doing, Paul, today?
Hi, Grumpy family. How are y'all doing tonight?
What's up, Paul? How are you?
I'm doing good. Well, we were watching to the show today, and the house mother, a.k.a. my mom, who is not a real hockey fan and actually appalls the sport and doesn't have much knowledge of it, came up with a brilliant idea for what Lou should do. He should retire to Columbus because if it's such a wonderful place, he should go there and retire and take Fredo with him. And then Ledecky and Malkin need to hire a true Long Islander who actually cares about the team, wants it to improve, and to actually make the team better. Now, all joking aside, honestly, I don't think he cares anymore. I think he's checked out. I think he's cashed in. I think Lou himself just cashed in and checked out. I think he's done. I think he honestly doesn't care anymore. And it's disgusting. I honestly think he's gotten so old and so senile that he just doesn't care. And I don't think any of his assistants care. I don't think anyone really honestly cares. And they just need to fire him based on that.
I think that
he doesn't care.
I think that he does care. I just think that he's not capable of doing the job like he used to anymore because he is 80.
I honestly don't. I don't think so, because honestly, if he was, because you remember him from the 90s, he cared. He put his whole effort into it. He was the guy who guillotined coaches. He was the guy who was aggressive in free agency. He was the guy who was like a no nonsense type of New Jersey type of personality, a New Yorker type of personality. Now he's just an old senile man who just has checked out.
Well, I don't
Cashed out and checked out.
Yeah, I don't think as you get older, I think what happens is that you just you get more mellow. And I think you're right. He used to do that all the time. I just think the game has passed him by. And as you get older, you try to take the safe route more than being aggressive. And I think that's where he's at.
Are you speaking, grumpy old man, from personal experience? The older you get, the more mellow you get. Is that what you're saying?
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, I would say I'm probably more grumpier than grumpy, and I'm still only 26. So before I let y'all go, I wanted to invite TJ over to come over to the Lone Star State, maybe come over to see the Islanders Stars game. We can try and hang out and try and bring in some of the Islanders fans that come to the game and convince them that they need to stop drinking the Lou lemonade and come to the lights. And we can convince us together and have a two-plant prong attack.
I don't know anybody who's and thanks so much for the call, Paul, and thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who is in the spot to where they are still drinking the Lou lemonade right now.
Ledecky is.
Even though Brennan told us that, and again, he was there for it. Holy shit! It still hasn't really sunk in yet. It's tough for that to sink in because I just think it's so far and devoid from reality or where he should be in reality that it's just kind of hard to fathom. It's hard to fathom that the ownership group really thinks that.
Your buddy Tommy Baffy said they love Lou. They think he walks on water over there. If that's the case, they ain't letting him go.
I don't know about that anymore now.
Maybe he wears his Devil's rings, his Devil's championship ring.
You think he wears those
in the office and waves them? And look, I've done this. What have you done?
Hey, what's up, Alexander? How are you doing this evening?
Grumpy and TG, my two favorite people. What's up, my family?
Alexander, the legendary Alexander Rene Diaz.
Yes. So I am still upset about this whole Johnny Gaudreau thing. You know, him burning us with Columbus. I want to go to a little bit of a rant.
Go ahead.
We need to fire Lou Lamoriello. He needs to go. The game has passed him by for the I think it was the fourth year in a row. We can't land a big name free agent to play opposite Barzell. And we can even do that with Tavares, and we can even do that with Barzell. You know, first off, it was an excuse with the Coliseum is old, it's falling apart, this and that. But we moved it to a new arena, the UBS arena, a beautiful arena, and we still can't get the big name. I'm sorry, something needs to give. You fire Trotz, fine. I'm okay with that. But again, where's the big fish? Nowhere to be found. And now you're in a Nazem Kadri, a 32-year-old that's not really going to do anything for you. And then I get killed. And then of course I get killed in faces for saying that Anders Lee needs to go. He sucks, and I get killed for that. Like, are you serious? The guy does listen. He's benefited from Barzell and Tavares.
That's right.
Come on, man.
That's right. Alexander,
$7 million overpaid. A $7 million overpaid, injury-prone left winger. That's only going to get worse as this contract gets along. You can't even move him. As Stanley Cup champions, like Tampa Bay, can move a guy like Ryan McDonough. Why can't we move a guy like Anders Lee? Oh, because he's the captain. Who are you going to replace with the locker room? Oh, come on. Don't give me that, man. Brighton Nuss would be a better leader than Anders Lee any day of the week. That's just my rant, guys. You guys have a great day and love the show. You guys are my second family. You guys have a great night.
Thank you, Alexander. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for getting the rant in, Grump. I'll let you respond to that.
I don't disagree with anything that he said. Nothing at all. I mean, he needs to go. People think Anders Lee is great. I don't know what you've been watching.
At this point, and there are fans who seriously say, well, we can't trade away the captain. I look at it like that. Those are, I'm not trying to be mean, but those are, I would say, fans that maybe low information fans or just fans who just kind of are casual fans.
Oh, look, I know we lost 10-4, but Anders Lee and Brock Nelson both had 2 goals.
If everybody else is putting up 2 goals on this team, we would have won. You know what, Grump? How many guys are there on the ice? We would have won 100-0.
Yeah. I mean, there are other ways he could have made trades for legitimate first line forwards, but no, he's always shooting at the lower edge. Second, third round guys, Kyle Palmieri's, JG Pageau's. They're third liners. That's what they are.
Grump, I tell you, it's
frustrating.
It's beyond frustrating. We've got calling in Drew. If this links up, hey Drew, how are you?
Hey TJ Grump, what's going on?
What's up, Drew?
Man, not too much. How about you?
I've been pretty good. I just had a long day at work. I just ended like a couple of hours ago, so I'm here to just relax, talk to you guys, listen to the podcast, the usual.
Yeah, absolutely.
So far, Drew, we're 0 for 5 for keep Lou or fire Lou. Every once in a while.
Has Lou done a good job? We're 0 for 5 on has Lou done a good job so far?
Absolutely not.
There's 0 for 6.
0 for 6.
We're 0 for 6. Yeah, it's going to keep going down the rabbit hole, especially. But I wanted to get into like 3 of my points. I'm going to keep it as rapid fire as I make it so that I can open up the line for the people to speak their piece. But I wanted to go back to draft day first off, because that's where I feel like I should start this timeline. And TJ, if you want to show Grump, I did send you a screenshot on Twitter and I saw you liked it or whatever. So if you wouldn't mind showing him. Grumpy, just for context, this is text between me and my uncle on draft day as soon as that Alexander Romanov trade happened. I lost it. I was like, oh my goodness gracious. I'm like, why did you do this? Now, with more time going over, I've always liked Romanov as a player. And I can only remember that because he was on my fantasy team like 2 years ago. And for the first like 10 games of the season, he was on like an absolute point tear. He was putting up like a point a game for those first 10 games, got hurt, and then didn't really play up to expectations for the rest of the season because I don't think he was 100% healthy. So there was that. And then, you know, I go and text my uncle and I'm basically saying like, dude, we're so screwed. Like, we're done for. Like, this is the move that Lou makes. And my uncle's like, no, like, I promise you he's got all these moves in his bag. I'm like, dude, this is his move. Like, just look at his track record and tell me he's going to do something else. And so far, I've been proven right. You guys have been proven right. And anyone who listens to this podcast has been proven right. Now, I want to talk about that Panarin thing. I know everyone's getting all reminiscent over it. I just wanted to compare stats to you guys because I think this is important context for what the contract that both Panarin and Gaudreau got. So in Panarin's season before he signed with the Rangers, he put up 87 points in 79 games with a plus-minus 14. I think you guys seen Gaudreau's stats, 115 in like 80-something games with a plus-minus of 64. Now, if you compare the contract, doesn't Gaudreau's deal seem like a sweetheart deal?
It
8
is.
years, 7 years, $9.75 million. If you think about it, now, if I was playing franchise mode, that pricing tag, if they put up those type of stats, he's asking for $14 million minimum. So I looked at this and I'm like, Lou, you couldn't have just even waived one of our players, got some money back, and spent $11 or $10.5 million on Gaudreau. I think he would have signed here. I mean, he rejected $10.5 million from Calgary. I mean, why wouldn't he sign here for $10.5 million if we were so-called in the running? And the last thing that I wanted to point out was one of actually Phil's facts guys that I think should have been our plan B, and it was that Ilya Mikheyev guy. I was watching film on him, and that guy, let me tell you, he's going to be good. I know he's like a big guy to skate, and he didn't put up the most eye-popping stats, but I just saw the statistics and I saw the film on him, and I was like, imagine if we just signed him for like, I don't know, a David Perron contract that's at $5 million for the next 6 or 7 years, give or take. And he's a staple on our second or first line. I'm just sitting here imagining what he would be like with Barzell. Because to me, his game kind of reminds me a lot of Anders Lee with a shot, who's 10 million times faster. And I think that was the big missed opportunity by Lou. And yeah, I mean, pretty much all the rest of the free agents left are old ham and eggers that are going to ask for overpays or guys who are bottom six grinders. So there's not really much else to sign at this point. And yeah, that basically concludes everything I have to say. So you guys have a good night. I'll be tuning in. All right.
Thank you so much, Drew. I'll just touch on the first 2 points. His uncle, I think, was just trying to talk him down from the ledge, which is cool. That's what uncles are for. Don't feel bad about that. And the second point was, what was his second point? I forgot it now.
We're talking about Panarin.
I think a lot of the reason also why the salaries for Gaudreau wasn't as high was because there's a flat cap for the last number of years, or $1 million raise. Well, that wasn't the case when Panarin was signed.
They were expecting things to just keep moving and moving and moving along. That's why they also signed Jacob Trouba to that big contract. And like this, it was a bargain sweetheart deal, in my opinion, for a guy like Johnny Gaudreau. My God, that was we said I was willing to pay 11.5 million for a guy like that. He's a legitimate top line guy. Top line wingers and franchise caliber wingers do not grow on trees.
No.
If you're fortunate enough to be graced with a guy like that, you're very lucky. And when you're talking about Ilya Mikheyev, I was originally not on the Mikheyev train, and now that he's gone, I've done a lot more research. I've watched a lot more film. Man, oh man, could that guy skate. You want to talk about a guy who has unbelievable speed, Grump. There's videos of him keeping pace per pace with Connor McDavid, just unbelievable quickness.
Yeah, I mean,
they signed him on a 4-year, $4.75 million a year contract in Vancouver. And, you know, that's a guy who's a middle six guy. Ideally, right, he's a really solid second-line winger. But if your team wasn't loaded and bloated with contracts like Josh Bailey, with Anders Lee, with guys that you're like, yeah, does he really move the needle for us? You could take a roll and a gamble on a guy like this, and it could really pay off. But we don't, because we have everybody signed back to these huge contracts, and we think that we can never lose a player, because if the Islanders were to ever lose a player off their roster, how could we ever manage? It's not like we could ever go with Mr. Outside NHLer. Not like we can ever go with Mr. Outside Hire, Grump.
Well, and that's the conundrum that you have, right? You feel, since you don't have anyone in the pipeline coming up, you have to re-sign your guys at overinflated rates. And, you know, so you wind up just chasing your tail. Stop trading away draft picks. Let guys go. They overpay for their own guys, which just no one takes a hometown discount to stay here.
Okay, a few did. Pelech, Pulak, but I mean that's kind of where it ends.
Pelech, yes. Pulak, no.
Hey, we've got Mark on the phones. How are you, Mark?
Hey guys, love the show. A few things. First of all, I don't think we were ever seriously involved with Gaudreau. I think Lou lowballed him basically 7 years, $9 million. I mean, we were never, that close. But my it wasn't even my biggest problem. My biggest problem was all these guys were getting signed while we were kind of waiting on Gaudreau, and who knows if Lou was really even waiting on Gaudreau. But why didn't we sign Pacioretty? I mean, you didn't have to give anything up.
That's it. You had the cap space.
Yep.
I mean, the fan base would have been happy with Pacioretty. I mean, now, even like Kadri and all, me being a pathetic, desperate Islander fan, I almost hoped for them to sign him. But before this whole free agency started, he was very down on my list because he wants too much money. He's really a second line guy. It's very disturbing because I actually do like what we did with Romanov. He's a good player. We're going to like him. If you expect him to be a first-line guy, you're not going to like him. If you expect him to be a second-line guy, Romanov, we're going to love him. And I could see us signing like a Dahan and that type of guy. But I don't know how you're going to keep Barzal. And I don't want to, sign like a Sonny Milano or I don't understand what he's doing.
Yeah, like I said, for me, I also like the Romanov move, and he will come in as a second pairing D-man with Dobson. I have no problem with it. I actually like it. Needed to happen. Calvin DeHaan, I guess you could bring him in if you want to rotate him and Salo. He'll be cheap. That's for certain. But for me,
You know, something else I wanted to
go ahead, Mark.
something I wanted to add in. You think a lot of these like free agent types, and this is throughout the years, you think they don't want to come here because they don't want to play second fiddle to the Rangers?
I don't. I think it's money speaks. For the most part, it's money that speaks.
Especially if we lowball Johnny Gaudreau like that. And I will never know exactly what's offered, but would it shock me if we tried to lowball him because we weren't serious contenders? Absolutely not. It would not shock me the slightest.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we tried to lowball him.
I mean, you look at Ottawa, right?
Lowball him.
Yeah.
I mean, if we really wanted him, seriously, we would offer him seriously $11 million a year and just end it.
And they could have done that. They chose not to. They could have done it.
They could have done it because you could have got rid of Bailey. You could have got rid of the goal of Varlamov. You really could. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's probably a ripoff, but you could have done it. And this fan base, we need a free agent signing. It's kind of like with the Yankees. People didn't go to the games for Jeter after a while. They never really went to the games for Jeter. In New York, you go for the free agent signing like an A-Rod. And A-Rod put fans in the seats. Now, guys, if you remember me, I'm the guy who went out to lunch with Lamorello years ago.
Yes.
And I came away very impressed. And I'm telling you, I always listen to you guys. And with Grumpy, I mean, Grumpy, you would have loved this guy. You know, so it's not like he's lost his fastball. That's not it. You know, but I do believe that these owners are enamored with him and he could do no wrong.
He's a legend.
I get that sense. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for the call in, Mark. I really do appreciate
Guys, thanks
it.
for everything. I love listening to that.
Thank you,
Mark. Yeah, that's, oh man, I keep hearing that, Grump, which means it's probably true, and I'm the one who's blinded. I'm blinded by my optimism on this case and scenario because I hear from people who have spoken to the owners, people who've spoken to the general manager. It seems like they're just enamored. They've got that love for him, and that kind of scares me a bit.
I firmly believe that.
You're enamored and you have a love for something. It's easy to be blinded to the flaws and the mistakes that are blatant.
But eventually the bottom line will catch up. They say, yeah, something's not working here. And like I said, if Matt Barzal determines he doesn't want to sign back here, you're in real trouble.
Yikes.
I don't care that, you know, he wasn't at his best last year. He and Barry were like oil and water, right? Yeah. Never going to fit. That was never going to mix. And that was a toxic relationship at the end. And I still think that Barzal played hard at the end when most of the other players just kind of quit. And I loved his comments at the end, and he kind of called out his teammates a little bit without actually doing it.
He should call out the team. He should be the captain going forward. He should call the teammates out and saying, this shit is not going to cut it. This lazy effort we saw at the tail end of the year after the trade deadline. After the trade deadline was over, we went back into a freaking coma and slumber with some of these players who had a magic reviving and the magic revival. You know, the fact that they went back to sleep, that's unacceptable.
Now, Mark was right about something. Like the Yankees, it's what's the new shiny toy every year. That's what people go see. And A-Rod, I mean, people didn't go see Jeter play. You go to see A-Rod play though, because I thought A-Rod was a special player. Not putting Jeter down, but I thought there was no comparison between the two of them talent wise. And I remember it was a huge deal when they got him from Texas. Huge. Well, we might as well hit a couple of comments while
we will. I just wanted to bring up because we had quite a few calls in a row. And the call lines, I know, I'm sorry, there was a lot of people calling in earlier. The phone lines are still open. I know there was quite a few people calling in earlier. We couldn't get to you. We had to keep sending you guys the voicemail. If you call back in, we are open for calls. But again, we love the participation and you guys calling in and speaking and sharing your thoughts on it. I really hope that this is the last year for a guy like Lou Lamoriello. I hope it's not, unless he determines to step away, they will never ask him to leave. And if that's the case, I hope he's ready to step away. Maybe he wants to spend year 80 to 87 or 80 to 95 with the family.
And when I see, I don't think he's got dementia or he's senile or anything like that. But what I just think is that it's just a new era. And I think he's just past his time. I just think he's past it at this time. I know Mark had the conversation. You hear him talking with Shannon. I mean, he was great, honestly. I mean, he sounded really good.
Oh no, he definitely isn't like he's got dementia or anything like that. But you think to yourself, I'm like, ooh, you think to yourself, he's kind of. You just wonder if he's not as in tune and in years in past.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Hey, you're live here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
Brian P. What's up, fellas?
What's up,
Brian B., my brother from another mother.
Yes, sir. The Isles Miseries representing as always.
Always.
He cut. Yeah, so it's been a rough off season to say the least as Islander fans. I'm more pissed off that it's just the same old. It's fine. Like everybody's like, oh, Lou, we got Lou now. Great Lou. All he does, he's traded away 3 first-round picks of the 5 years. He's traded away 3 of our first-round picks. He landed a third-line center, a third-line winger, and maybe a decent, but probably a number 4 defenseman. You can't do that in the salary cap era. But then if you're going to do that, at least means you're going to go sign free agents. Well, he doesn't do that either. He still can't score. Same problems we've had since the day one when he arrived here. Yeah, we need more pop up front. Where is it? I don't see it. It just drives me crazy. I mean, don't be bad and boring. At least, you got to be able to feed the feeder with young talent. We just have nothing. Maybe we got 2 prospects to look forward to, and they're not ready yet. I don't know. It's frustrating. Very frustrating. This guy gets away with his reputation from 20 years ago. No one calls him out on it. It's rough.
We call him out on this show, though. You know that, Brian.
Oh yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. We all do.
Oh,
but it's just like nobody will ever say, it's okay. Lou was great. GM years ago. Different game now, and he hasn't won anything since the salary cap's been implemented. Not one.
Joe Namath.
He doesn't understand.
Joe Namath was a great quarterback once, just not anymore. It's not a crime.
Exactly right. It's not a crime.
What I think we're going to say regarding the media cartel is they're not going to say a peep when Lou Lamoriello's here. Once he's gone and he officially steps away from the Islanders, because things are not going to end well. That's not going to be one of those to where when everything transpires, we're happy with the way Lou leaves the team. I think that's plain and simple. I think then after he's gone, we're going to see them be all strong and tough. Oh, Lou at the tail end had, he was kind of making mistakes that he wouldn't have made it earlier on, but he was, at the tail end, things just kind of eroded. They won't say any of that shit when he's here, but once he's gone and it doesn't matter, then they'll be like they're big, bad, tough guys. Yeah, we're holding them accountable. Yeah. Okay, 5 years too late.
Chase them out of here. Yeah.
5 years too late.
I hear 5 years too late. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brian. A pleasure talking.
All right, great talking to you guys again. Yeah, it's always a pleasure, guys. All right.
Thanks, BP.
Bye.
You got that there, yeah, but he's not wrong.
Well, see, for me, I think you're starting to see certain people now kind of
BP's always one of those people.
No, I'm not. I'm just talking about some writers. They're starting to come over a little bit, questioning, not really questioning, but kind of questioning a little bit, saying, is there a plan B? They're going to have to do some things.
Your job working in the media and writing, even if you're a blogger, your job is to question every freaking move and everything on a hypercritical level that Lou Lamoriello and the Islanders organization does. Your job is by definition to be inquisitive, to be dubious about every fucking move they make. And when you're not just saying, this is the best move ever, that is not good. That's not a good writer. That's not, like that. That's one of those where you think to yourself, I'm like, oh, fantastic. This is just another puff piece. And you wonder why you get a bad reputation. Your job is to question. Your job is to be dubious, Grum.
I question all the time.
We've always questioned.
Always. Even when things are going well, we're questioning.
Exactly. Because if you're not questioning when things are going well, you're just completely blindsided when things start to go bad. And you're like, how could we have stopped this? Yeah, we don't play the revisionary historian. We say it as it's going on. Why is this occurring? And a lot of the fans do too who listen to this show. And a lot of fans, I think, in general, have the same thought process, Grump.
Yep. And
Hmm.
hey, carry the torch of freedom.
John Smith. And again, the phone lines are still open. So we're just going to start hitting some comments. But if you guys want to call in, the phone lines will be open. John Smith said 236 signings in free agency. The Islanders, one entry-level contract.
Woohoo!
Drew L says, remember what Ledecky said while out at golfing. We trust in Lou. 2 times general manager of the year.
See, that's problematic.
Yeah. What's up, Scott? How are you? Matthew S., how are you? Hold on a second, Grump.
Yes, they did sign Calio Dalius. I mean, all of a sudden now they're saying that they're signing people to entry level deals, second round picks. Boy, that's new.
That's quick too.
When's our next feature on Coco, the service dog, going to come out?
Oh, grumpy. Hey, you're in here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in? That must be Lou Lamoriello.
Johnny Goodrow. Timmy Panarin. John Tavares. Peter Sikora. Bruce Driver.
I don't even know who that was. That was Lou from the landline. I don't know. It was just, it seemed like, I think Lou accidentally sleep called us. Lou from the landline might accidentally slept call us.
The worst thing was he wakes up and he signs Anders Lee. That's the worst part.
Oh, man, that would have been great at the end. It's like, oh my gosh, I overslept. Anders Lee, we need you here immediately.
Kyle Palmieri.
Yeah,
we got to justify giving up that first round draft pick by signing by just throwing more the baby out with the bathwater and giving him a multi-year deal. Ugh, I'm sorry. Ugh, terrible.
I tell you, it is. Hey, you're here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
Hey, this is George. Hope you guys are doing well. First time caller.
Hey, George, how are you? We're doing all right for the circumstances.
Well, that's actually why I'm calling. So when the Romanov trade happened, that's a guy I know a lot about, was playing first line minutes there in Montreal. Tons of potential. I thought, okay, Barry's gone. Things are going to be different. I thought, by the day free agency came, Bailey was going to be traded. They had the money to get Gaudreau, but they needed to move guys off. And it's this crap where he signs contracts to guys that don't deserve new contracts, and then they claim they don't have the money to go out and take advantage of an opportunity like Johnny. So now I've moved into the phase where it's like, okay, for the rest of the summer, they better stock the front office with guys that they can evaluate, assistant GM types. And lose contracts up to the end of the year. And I just hope kind of that's it. Because I think he's gotten to the point of he's been so successful, I don't necessarily have to do anything. And he's comfortable. He's a comfortable guy, and we need someone that's going to be aggressive.
I think that's been one of the common themes with the callers here too, is we do not want to have a dumb reactionary move that as we've waited, as the dust has settled, we're going to sign a guy like Sonny Milano. We're going to bring Sonny Milano back to Long Island. We're going to bring XY. We're going to bring in middle six forward John Smith to play here for us. I feel like that's the only thing they could do at this point, in making a move for something of that nature. I just think would be a critical blunder.
Yeah, I mean, but the whole thing is,
yeah.
Go ahead, George.
Okay, Grumpy. I do think there's the guys they can get. Like, I love Tanner Janot from Nashville as a right wing. Winnipeg has to make some moves. They've got a lot of talented wingers. I think if he tries, he can get a Romanov type at forward if he tries. And I don't know that the owners are going to put pressure to make him try. What do you guys think?
I don't think he's gonna make a move. And I keep on telling TJ that if you're gonna bring somebody in, you have to move somebody else out. There's just no two ways about it. You have 14 forwards signed to contracts. I mean, you can't. What are they going to do? Have a whole line just sitting in the sitting in the back room, healthy scratch? It's on long-term deals too. It's just they need to move some guys out before they can bring anybody in. They should have done it at the trade deadline.
No, true.
They should have done it at the draft. They should have done it post-draft. Look what the Devils did today. Look what Pittsburgh did today. Look what Montreal did today. Not afraid to make a move. They're trying to make their teams better. We're just treading water. Just treading water. And I one of your comments,
100%.
I think the whole organization is too comfortable. That's what I think. The whole organization just way too comfortable. All the players, management, everybody just too comfortable. No accountability.
And that's what you guys always talk about is the media cartel that is too scared of them to make them uncomfortable to where they have to do better and they go and spinning their BS constantly.
Yes.
I got one more question for you, and I'll let you guys go. But I've enjoyed talking to you. Grumpy, this one's for you. Do you regret trying to make TJ watch movies so much instead of like trying to teach him to read when he was younger?
You know, the whole thing was I tried to teach him to read. He just didn't take the. You remember he's half Polish, so
long time.
It's a struggle for guys like that.
Oh, good gracious!
All right, guys, have a great night. Good talking with you.
Thank you so much,
Thanks
George.
so much, George, for calling in. Yeah, I just feel like after every single one of these calls, it sets in a little more and more that maybe things are worse than even worse than I could imagine.
The fans are fed up.
Yeah,
and
he should be.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? So far, I have not heard any of these in Louis Trust calls. Not a one. Not one. So, I mean,
to play devil's advocate, I think our listeners and viewership are not necessarily the Lou we trust fans.
Well, you figure somebody would have just called up to troll us, at least a Lou fan. Because I know there was.
Now you're opening up the door, Grump.
There are absolutely some of the bootlicker people who listen to us, and you figure, they believe in Lou. And I think that maybe they're wavering a little bit. That's what I think's happening. I think you're seeing a lot of wavering.
Good. You should. Look at how organizations are run. And I feel like we've become so conditioned to this. We can't fire the head coach. We can't fire the general manager. We can't do this. We can't do that. Every other team in the league, when you have unsuccessful time periods, they fire head coaches. They go through head coaches at the freaking flip of a switch. And it's the same thing with general managers. If you're not getting the job done, you're gone.
GMs stay longer than coaches.
A little longer, but the mistakes that Lou Lamoriello have made are grossly incompetent at times, and I love it. Right? People are going on and defending Lou, talking about I've seen so many things that Lou's done well. I'm just like,
okay, yes, in the past he has, and he served
with the Islanders.
Okay, but he has served his purpose here. He made us respectable again, as opposed to a laughingstock.
He did.
He did that. He brought in Barry Trotz, who was an adult in the room, who also brought us as far as we could. I said in the regular season, Barry Trotz got us as far as he possibly could. You couldn't ask for anything more. Barry Trotz has his own issues that we've talked about numerous times.
Ad nauseum.
Yes. Right. But still, they both serve their purpose. You don't keep a guy forever. Lou doesn't hold coaches more than 2 or 3, years ever. Well, he should move out as GM too.
Lou Lamoriello has done 2 or 3 really important things, or maybe 2 really important, or 3 really important things for the Islanders, just like you had mentioned. He brought respectability back to the Islanders. And even though we lost out to a top-end free agent to a team like the freaking Columbus Blue Jackets, he still did bring respectability to this franchise that was a cellar dweller for years and years and years. There's no doubt about that. Then you're right. He did go ahead and he went ahead and brought in Barry Trotz. That is hugely important to bringing forward this team and bringing us into modern day hockey, bringing us out of out of the cellars where we were. And he brought in Sorokin. Those are the three really big things that he did.
I was thinking something else. I remember when Tommy Baffey was on here a couple of years ago. Remember when they signed Barzal to the 3-year extension and it dragged on into training camp?
Yes,
And
it's literally he wasn't even signed when training camp began. It dragged on midway through training camp.
And that was the first time we heard from Lou that, if you have time, you use it. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. And, when Tommy mentioned, well, they wanted to sign him to a longer term deal, but they ran out of time before the season started. So they signed him to the bridge deal. Well, you know something? That's why you don't wait on star players. You have to be ahead. You got to get out in front of that. If you're saying that it got too close to the season, so we had to settle, then you should have started back during the season to get that extension done, to sign him to an 8-year deal.
Here are the two ways that we can, and we've got a caller on the line, so we'll link him in a second. We've got two ways I think we could somehow save a little bit of this offseason that has been underwhelming at best. Locking Noah Dobson up to a long-term deal and negotiating a deal once Matt Barzal's contract expires here to a long-term contract. Those are the two ways I believe that we can truly save or help try to salvage some of this offseason that has been miserable to start. But hey, we've got a caller in. Who do we have in here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man?
My name is Brian, guys.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, guys. I was wondering, when Blue first came on, what were your guys' thoughts and predictions for the first couple of years that he was going to be here? How much credit does he deserve for hiring Barry Trotz and the results the team has achieved so far? Do you still think he'll make any trades before the season starts? I heard you talking about Romanov earlier. I agree. I think it was good. As far as defensemen or defensive targets could have been, I know we were looking for a forward, but as far as the defense goes, do you think Lou did all right there? What about also chances of perhaps seeing Farley maybe packaged away? And I didn't hear this as well. After Gaudreau was gone, who would you guys have liked to have seen Lou or just us, Isles acquire that was not already taken as well? That's what I'm curious. Yes.
Okay.
So I've wrote a few of those down. So I know you need it.
The first one.
What were thoughts on Lou Lamoriello when he joined?
When he joined, I was 100% behind him being there. And his absolute best move was bringing in Barry Trotz as coach.
Yes.
People forget where we were viewed from the NHL, from fans around the league, from our own fan base.
A laughing stock, an absolute joke.
And it was a brilliant hiring for both of those guys. Everything runs its course. What did they do? What has Lou really done? He's never acquired anyone who you would say, man, that's a missing piece guy.
Not from outside the organization.
Right. It's all, okay, let's bring in a third liner. Let's bring in a fourth liner.
I think the biggest acquisition, I wouldn't even really call it an acquisition, but making sure he was able to seal the deal and get Sorokin to the United States. That's the biggest player that we technically wasn't under the organization's control. He was under the organization's control, but didn't have a contract that he was able to get inked and signed. He did that by signing Varlamov to, a contract that at the time period when he signed was probably a little bit more than what the market would have indicated for him because of the poor time he had in Colorado. But he's done, a very, very sufficient job here under, Greco and Korn and with the Islanders, and getting Sorokin here was unbelievably important. The Trotz signing, just as you mentioned, was a huge one as well. You can't. We've been hard critics of Barry Trotz. He's a fantastic coach, but has his deficiencies like all coaches do. But just as you mentioned, general managers and coaches don't have a shelf life of 20 or 30 years. It's not like we're talking about a bottle of water here or a non-perishable item.
Not anymore. And
guys, one last thing, guys, and then I'll hang up, let you guys talk. Sorry, you guys are great, by the way. How much, do you remember? I think we were targeting Panarin, and then he chose the Rangers. How much of that is on Lou And then we ended up with Anders Lee, right? I heard Grump earlier not describing Anders. What do you guys think of that? And have a good night.
Thank you so much, Brian, for calling in.
Yeah, and TJ, you can pick that up. I'll answer the rest. I don't put any of that on Lamarillo. I don't think he ever wanted to come to the Islanders. He just used us as a bargaining chip. The biggest mistake was making the reactionary overpayment for Anders Lee. I didn't view him as anything more than maybe a 4-year contract. They didn't need to give him. So, well, Montreal was looking at, well, let Montreal overpay him.
Montreal would be in the.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
Montreal with that contract. Yikes.
We tend to overpay for guys. I love the Romanov deal. I think that was a good deal.
I just thought it was an overpay. Here's the thing. Realistically, I'm expecting a guy to be a top 4 defense and probably second line guy.
He's
maybe
22.
he goes into something very special. Maybe his offensive production skyrockets because he's so raw on the offensive side of the puck. I just think for the 13th overall pick, could have been a little bit of an overpay. But go ahead.
For me, he's 22. And if he and Dobson are a great pairing together, no problem at all.
And they said he wanted to know trades coming up. Do you think there are any trades that are coming up, Grump, that you anticipate the Islanders to make?
The only way there's a trade is if they try to bring in another offensive piece. I still think we might sign an inexpensive bottom pairing left-handed defenseman to maybe split time with Salo if they don't feel comfortable where he's at. I'd rather just roll with Salo, but I could understand if they don't feel that way, maybe have Salo and, like I said, I don't know who mentioned earlier, Dahan as a possibility, but I'm fine with that as a bottom pairing guy. He's always hurt anyway, so Salo will get a lot of minutes.
So yeah, I don't think, just like you mentioned, I don't think there's any upcoming trades. I could see maybe us trying to revisit back on JT Miller. That's maybe it. People mention, okay, got teams like Toronto don't have enough cap space. They have 2 roster spots they have to fill left. They've got to sign Sandin back. Are we going to maybe broker a deal with Toronto? I don't know. It's wishful thinking. I feel like every time I go down that hole, I think maybe this is the year we finally are able to get one of those talented young offensive pieces from Toronto, and it never happens. They always seem the way to make the cap work and to keep their offensive talent intact. So I'm a little the probability of these trades to be made, I would put as low. After Johnny Gaudreau, who would we have wanted, Grump, after he signed? Well, Johnny Gaudreau signed later in the day. So a lot of those middle guys that are free agents, like your Vinny Trocheks, like your Burakovskis, those are all gone off the board by the time Johnny Gaudreau signed.
Yeah, but again, Vinny Trocheck, who I think is an Islander-type player, we didn't need a second line center.
You bump Brock Nelson out to winger.
Okay, but I mean, 7 years for Vinny Trocheck. How old is he? 29?
I thought it was 6. Is it 7?
7. 7 years, 5+. The money was okay, but the term is long.
Yeah.
And he's a guy who's, just his style gets dinged up every year. I like Vinny Trocheck. Not for 7 years, though. David Perron, the kid who wound up going to Vancouver. Those were legitimate options that we could have used.
We could have gone ahead and taken a different viewpoint to say we're moving. Hey, maybe we can get some draft capital back in return for a guy like Bavillier, for a guy like Varlamov. We could bring in different options we've got with Mahayev, with Perron, etc.
And that's the whole thing, right? Again, going to have to move somebody out before you bring somebody in.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Frank, how are you doing this evening?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Oh, well, for the circumstances, not too bad.
Yeah, Lou hasn't driven you guys to suicide yet?
No.
Take a lot more than Lou Lamoriello. It'll take a lot more than Lou Lamoriello not making a move to send me to suicide.
Yeah, I hear you. Amen to that. But he's really, like I've been saying, he's just too old. Your brain naturally just wears down. He needs to retire. We got to get a new guy. And I'm hoping with Trotz gone, that Ball, Wally, Barzell, Bells, I think they're all going to step up their game big time. I have a feeling. I hope.
That's the best. That's the best case scenario.
That is best case scenario. Bellows. People forget Bellows. It seemed like his body language totally changed when Lambert was there as coach. We know Wallstrom had issues with Trotz. We know Barzal has had issues with Trotz. anyone who's young has issues with trots. I mean, so we all know that. And I think Lane Lambert is, I mean, he was okay. I understand why they hired him because the team is a veteran team. Do you want a whole new voice? And they say a new voice in the room. Well, if you're bringing in somebody with a whole new style, these are all guys in their 30s. Would they be able to play a totally different style? I think that's questionable at best.
Yeah, for some reason they're fixated on the older guys, but they're older guys. So we have to break free from him. And I think, it seemed like we had a lot of cap money, but I thought about it. We have to sign a lot of our own guys. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise we didn't get Goodrow. I'm hoping.
All we have to sign is RFAs. I mean, Dobson, you could give Dobson a 2-3 year deal of $4 million per. Romanov, you have to sign. What's he going to get? 2? Bellows, what's he going to get? 1.5 maybe? Again, if you want to bring somebody in, you got to move somebody out. You could move a Bailey. You could move a Bavillier. You could move a Varlamov, and then you have salary cap money. We were not in salary cap trouble. Not in the least. This team, for me, and I'm just going back to the previous caller, this team, if they want to have a successful offseason at this point, needs to do what Tampa Bay did. They need to sign your Sorokins, your Barzals, your Dobsons to long-term deals.
Well, that's what I was mentioning too, Grump, and thanks so much for the call in, Frank. Hopefully now,
Thanks,
how are you feeling? Are you okay there mentally? Lou Lamoriello not doing anything?
Nah, I hate to say it, but I kind of expected him to drop the ball. What else is new?
Oh.
So, but hopefully, I'm trying to stay positive as much as I can. Hopefully, we get some break where I think Bo could really play great with Trotz gone. He's got all the tools. He needs to produce at least double what he did last year.
I think this is. Thanks so much for the call, Frank. We really do appreciate it. I think that's a good point. Now we're in a spot to where these young guys, these are big years for them. There should be no excuses for Barry, the man keeping us down. Barry's not allowing us to flourish. That excuse, for the most part, should be gone.
Yes.
Right? That shouldn't be an excuse that you could use for young players' productions or lack of production.
That's right. This is Bavillier's, to me, this is his last chance. I mean, I think he's restricted. Is he restricted after this or unrestricted after this year?
Give me 1 sec. I'll have it pulled up. I can't remember off the top hand.
But he might have 1 year left on his in restricted free agency. I'm not quite sure after this year. But you need to make a judgment on him, a judgment call. If he's not somebody that you see as being part of your team going forward, you look to move him.
He'll be a UF. He has after this year. He's got 1 year left, so he's got this year and one more year, and he'll be a UFA.
Okay, so
yeah, you really have
a little bit of time on him.
It's a make or break year for him.
Yeah, I think it is as well.
Absolutely, here, Grump. I mean, like that's got a lot to prove. These young guys do. He especially does. But now we've got in on the line, John. How are you doing this evening, John? Oh, hello, John.
Oh, I think you have the wrong one.
Oh, hey, who do I have calling in? I'm sorry.
It's Mike.
Mike, sorry. Okay, your name popped up as John, somebody else. So my mistake. How are you doing, Mike?
No worries. I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Oh,
splendid.
Yeah. Not bad. Not bad.
I just wanted to drop in and give you some information you might have not heard about, and then I'll let you guys continue and take more callers. I don't know if you guys already know, but did you see the video with Ledecky where he was interviewed?
Yeah, it looked like he was being held at gunpoint. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we listened. We talked about that at the beginning of the show today.
Okay, I was in a space the other day on Twitter with about 100 people, and there was a fan in there who said he was actually at whatever that event was. I don't know exactly what he was doing there, Ledecky, but he told me that he got to speak with him directly, and Ledecky told him that Goodrow had completely used us, that we did have an offer in for him, and he basically took what we put and gave it to Columbus. So, do with that information what you will. I just found it, really interesting. And thanks, guys, for letting me call in.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thanks so much, Mike. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, and we actually spoke with another individual who was there. Maybe it's the same. Maybe it was. I think his name was Brendan, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it was Brendan.
But we've had. Maybe it's the same individual, different guy.
Welcome to the world of sports, John Ledecky. I mean, that's what agents do all the time.
His agent was hard to work with.
He took our offer and went to Columbus. Well, what does it tell you? Supposedly Jersey offered more. He didn't want to go to Jersey. Guess what else it tells me? He didn't want to play for us.
Well, here's the thing. I think we offered less than Columbus offered. We offered the least. Who the hell knows? At least from what the rumors have been, we offered the least out of every single team in unrestricted free agency. So it wasn't a serious offer, which would also validate Elliot Freeman saying they weren't a serious contender in Johnny Gaudreau sweepstakes.
Long story short, he didn't want to play for the Islanders.
Long story short, I don't think we were very serious about him either.
Well, maybe if they would have offered him 10.5, like
Calgary
Calgary
did.
did.
We just offered him a comparable offer to Columbus. Here's the thing. The money wasn't really it. He turned down and left how many $10, $15 million on the table with the offer he had from Calgary? Calgary's offer paid him more than Columbus's offer per year, higher AAV, and an extra year on the contract. So he left money on the table, like almost $10 million, or I'm sorry, almost $15 million. And yeah, I don't think necessarily it's about the money. So, you're leaving 10, 15 million on the table. That's a lot of money.
He didn't want to play for the Islanders.
Okay, maybe we just were not willing to offer because we were not in serious contention, because we weren't serious about acquiring him.
I just think he didn't want to play for the Islanders. If he took their offer, if he took our offer and ran to Columbus, he didn't want to play for us.
Okay, maybe I don't think he took his offer and ran to Columbus, Grump. It wasn't like
his agent said that they went to Columbus. Columbus's GM said, we were surprised they came to us. That tells me that they took the Islanders offer and they said, this is what they're offering. This is what the Devils are offering. What can you do? He didn't want to play for the Devils or the Islanders. If
maybe the Islanders were paying him so low underneath maybe he really wanted out of Calgary, but he wanted to go back towards the eastern part of the country, or maybe he wanted to go, well, technically he wanted to maybe go back to the US. He wanted to go kind of towards east. Columbus, Ohio is more central, but maybe he wanted to go closer in that direction. But
he shopped the Islanders deal. That tells me he didn't want to go there. Landeskog did the same thing. Panarin did the same thing. Islanders, what can you offer us? Then they'll leave. Oh, the Islanders are offering that, whatever. The Islanders are hot for this guy. Everyone uses the Islanders. No one wants to play there. No one from outside the organization wants to play there. Mm-hmm. No one has ever come to the Islanders, good established player, has ever gone to the Islanders as a free agent in over 20 years. There's a reason. There are multiple reasons. They just don't want to play for the Islanders. Period.
Okay, Grumpy, hold on. We got another caller here. Let me link him in. Hey, you're live here with TJ and a Grumpy Old Man. Is this Chris?
Yes, sir. How you doing, guys?
Doing well. How about you, Chris?
I'm doing well. Well, just a little disappointed with the free agency, but, hanging in there. This is just the life of the Islanders fan,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What are your thoughts on free agency? What are your thoughts on the organization and the franchise as a whole?
Well, honestly, I'm kind of glad we didn't sign Johnny. I've been kind of looking at this more like future-wise, and I really feel that this team, the core, is just not built for the new NHL, if you want to call it that. So in a way, I feel like we kind of dodged a bullet, and I kind of, in a way, hope that Lou doesn't do anything at all. And kind of just let his contract run out, and I think we might have to rebuild after the season, to be very honest with you. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I just don't see how we can really, honestly, I just feel like those 2 years we went to conference finals, it just really was due to the small schedule, and I just don't think this team, the way it was playing, we're just not built to really compete and go far into the playoffs. It's just a different NHL now than it was when Lou and Trust took over, I think.
100% agree.
You're right. And go ahead, Grump.
The only thing I'll disagree with you on, Chris, is I think that Johnny Gaudreau is a modern NHL player. I 100% agree with you when you're saying the team that's currently out there is not a 2022 NHL team. You're right. They are not. And we do need to walk away from that. The only way to do that is to stop trading away first round draft picks for guys like a Kyle Palmieri or JG Pajot, guys who are close to the backside, if not on the backside of their careers, because you got to refill that pipeline. That's the only way that you're going to be able to bring us into the 21st century. Now, that being said, I don't know how these players are going to turn out who we drafted this year, but they seem like they are more in line with the current way the NHL is being played today.
I want to also say something here too. We talk about the window. We're in an odd situation. We really are. You've got still Pelech and Pulak signed long term. You've got young pieces on the defensive core, and now Dobson and Romanoff. Your defense is really solid and filled out. And you've got a goaltender in Sorokin who's a young goalie, at least in goalie standards, who's got, 5 to 7 years of really high productivity still left. So our backside of the team is really solid. Even if you were to go through a rebuild time period, it would just be more stocking up the cupboards on the forward side. We've got a few pieces that you could say I could be optimistic about, but yeah, I feel like the Johnny Gaudreau signing would help. It would help for the now because there are certain players on this roster that are toxic assets. As they get older, their contracts are just uglier and uglier, more grotesque. But I just think you're talking about for the fan base, you're talking about for Otto's offensive productivity. I think Johnny Gaudreau would have performed at a high level for the next 4 or 5 years at least.
Oh, definitely. I agree. I think he would have performed. My only issue would have been that if we signed Johnny Gaudreau, Blue would basically have to play Tetris with the cap, right? So if a team knows that, okay, we just signed Johnny Gaudreau and now you got to move assets, that means we got to probably give away first round picks, which we need because our prospect pool is abysmal, basically.
What I would have done beforehand, and you had to do this at the draft, you had to be proactive with it. Yes, sure, you would have been gambling a bit. You would have been saying, wow, we're really putting all of our eggs in this, or a lot of our eggs in this basket. But when we're thinking about what they should have done, you could have proactively before the draft moved a guy like Beauvillier. You could have moved Varlamov. That right there is $9 million in cap space. You could have also, Bailey probably would have cost you something to move. You probably, just based off of the goalie market, you would have gotten draft picks for Varlamov. You would have gotten draft picks for Beauvillier. And you could have hopefully remained net neutral or maybe had a little bit of a positive gain. If you're subtracting Bailey and Varlamov and having to trade, or you're subtracting Beauvillier and Varlamov and then having to try to trade away Bailey, so you maybe have to give up assets on that area, you would have done that proactively. You would have enough space for a Johnny Gaudreau. You could have also gotten a guy like Perron to add a little bit of that pop to the party. You do not need to be paying your backup goalie $5 million.
True.
Yeah. Well, Chris, thank you so much for the call in. I think that, I think the Islanders are in a spot to where I think it would have brought a lot of joy, but I'll let you get your last word in, Chris. Where do you think we are as an organization? Are you happy right now? Upset right now?
I would say I'm not upset or happy. I just think that this year is going to be a make it or break it. I'm really looking forward to the season. I just want to see what the guys do with Lane Lambert behind the bench. But I feel like also this is Lou's last year from what I've heard. I think his contract is up next season or next off season. So I'm taking more of a, kind of just a watch approach. But let's see what happens. I mean, this is less of an Islanders fan, so hopefully there are better times ahead. But right now it looks a little grim, to put it honest.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for the call, and we really do appreciate that. Grumpy old man, any other thoughts you had on that?
No.
Gotcha. We still have the phone lines open, and here's the thing, guys. The phones, I'm happy we've done it, and we need to do it more in this offseason. But we're probably not going to read comments or not too many comments. I apologize just because there's so many of them, and we're still getting calls that are trickling in. So we're trying to read just a few here. Scott L. said the Penguins making 2 trades today. The Penguins trade defenseman Marino and the Devils to the Devils for Ty Smith. Ty Smith is a young defender too. So I think he was an first or second round pick, an early pick, I believe. Trade number 2, the Penguins trade away Mike Matheson who they originally signed him as an unrestricted free agent from Florida Panthers, right, Grump?
I don't know if they signed him as a free agent or if he was traded from Florida, but yes, that's where he played from.
They're trading away Mike Matheson to Montreal for Jeff Petrie and Ryan Poling. While Sleeping Beauty Lou hasn't done shit for 4 days since free agency opened. Seeing other teams making moves and signing guys trying to improve their teams while Lou sits there and does nothing is so frustrating. Am I the only Islander fan that feels this way? They have been needing a score since the loss to the Carolina Hurricanes in 2019.
I'd argue even before then.
But no, you're not alone, Scott. Everybody who listens, everybody's been calling into the show feeling the same exact way. And so is Grumpy and I.
Do they really feel, does Lou really feel that they were one defenseman away from competing for a Stanley Cup?
18 points out of the playoff spot. And
16. It was only 16. It was only
16 points out of the playoff spot. We're one defenseman away from not only making the playoffs, but also winning a cup possibly. We need to make the playoffs.
I mean, I'm sorry. I don't believe that. And they're going to find out this year that's not the case. We're just not talented enough on offense. Just not. You can't play the same. I think we learned last year that you can't play that grinding style for 82 games. Team wears out. That's what happened to us. There are no excuses going forward.
A lot of comments here, Grump. State of Survival said, I was wondering why we gave extensions to some of the older prospects. I think they are just there for trade sweeteners. By the way, I'm the last Aho fan standing. I think they'll turn him into another Torrey Krug.
The reason why they did that for the extension, so they have a Bridgeport team next year. Could they be? They could still be trade sweeteners. It's not like they're getting paid big money. And I'm also an Aho fan. I don't think he's going to turn into Torrey Krug, though. I think really best case scenario is he's a bottom pairing guy. That's best case scenario.
Got a comment here from Emmanuel R saying, good evening, gents. So what does Lou do from now until the season starts?
Same thing he's been doing the whole offseason. Nothing.
Doug R saying, I challenge anyone to go to Cap Friendly, look at Lou's signings and trades as an Islander general manager, and then try to tell me that he will do something good for this team.
I don't see that happening. Every trade he makes, he trades for guys who are just okay. They're middle, bottom six guys. It's not what this team needs. We need top level talent, top pairing guys, 2 of them. We need 2 guys for the first line. You can't bring in guys who are the same thing as what we have on the team. Why just rearrange the chairs why just rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic? I mean,
and then we got here from Sal P saying, good evening, guys. Hope everyone is doing well. Is it shocking to anyone that Lou is asleep at the wheel?
Isn't that a country song? Isn't that a country group, Asleep at the Wheel?
I'm not sure. That you're asking the wrong question. You're asking that question to the wrong person. Mario says, what do you think of the criticisms that have come Lamoriello's way from other general managers? Lamoriello's archaic rules are turning off players from signing with the Islanders. I have seen that as well being a reason maybe why, after all of the fancy items, the brand new arena, the great practice facilities, everything we've added that's still tough to sign free agents is because of, you're right, the archaic rules perhaps from Lou Lamoriello not living in the 21st century. What do you think of that, Grump?
If that's truly the case, you should just relax the rules. If you're going to let something like that cost you from getting a high-end talent, you need to adjust, overcome, and adapt to that. You need to adapt to the current players. It's not like the players are going to adapt to an 80-year-old. He has to adapt to them. It's a different era. It's a different time frame. If you can't keep up, get out. You can't run with the big dogs. Go under the porch.
Oh, good gracious. John Smith says here, it came out that Kadri turned multiple teams already because he wants to go to contender. He's not going here. That's, I guess, the one positive. Hopefully he doesn't see the Islanders as a contender, so we don't even have to worry about him coming here. Pac-Man says here, why would we want Kadri? He's 31 years old. He's going to want a long-term contract. Plus, he's a center.
and he's a suspension waiting to happen as well.
He's one blow or one wrong look at away from going berserk on the ice and taking a suspension is right.
He's going to go back to Colorado. That's where he's.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Probably is going to happen. Aaron G says, "Let's go Red Wings." Well, Aaron G, you've got a lot of things to be positive about as a Red Wings fan. That's for certain. A lot of moves that have been made there by Stevie Y have got to make you excited. Nick D says, TJ the Curve, how are you doing tonight? And he also says Andy Francis had some good points on good things that Lou Lamoriello has done for the Islanders. TJ, I think you're right. This has to be the last year for Lou, though. Yeah, Lou has done and made good moves for the Islanders over the last 4 or 5 years. He's also made some real stinkers as well. And it's at the point where I'm looking for a little bit of a younger face.
The only positive to think that he might leave, because people say, well, he's not going to stick around for rebuild. Well, if he's not sticking around for a rebuild, then maybe he's going to leave after this year. That's the way I look at it, because the rebuild is upon us.
I think we're already there. We might already be there, guys.
Yeah, it's possible.
And if we already are there, right? At least the trade, we gave it the 13th overall pick, which I'm not bananas about. But at least we got a young defenseman that if he's a top 4, maybe if he's a top pairing guy, can grow into a top pairing guy. I'm not complaining. If you go ahead and give up the 13th overall pick for a guy who winds up being a top defenseman, top pairing defenseman, I'm not complaining about that at all. Yep. Michael T says here, replacing Char with Romanoff and Green with Salo should help the team offensively. It should.
Agreed.
It definitely should. And ideally, right, if you're going to have the young guys, should maybe take a step forward. Your Wallstroms, your Barzals, your Bervilliers, your Bellows, but your older guys are also probably going to take a little bit of a step back.
I mean, and I don't think when Romanoff comes in and plays with Dobson, it means Dobson gets to lead the rush more, because he's got somebody who's solid defensively back there who can skate, which he did not have last year.
Steve M says, Ledecky is worse than the Wilpots.
Ooh, that's pretty bad.
Oh, man. And then Frank says here, big deal, general manager of the year. Why did he even win those? What does it do? Because he overpaid for trades, and he overpaid in trades and contracts. It was all just based off his name and the cachet.
That's right.
It's a popularity contest.
Very true.
No, that type of stuff goes. And then Stephen B says, please, until this team gets 2 top 6 upgrades, they aren't going anywhere. A bunch of 12-goal scorers that need to be replaced by a couple of 30 to 35-goal scorers like Vladimir Tarasenko.
I mean, do you think he'd make a move for Tarasenko? I don't.
No. I mean, when he was there for a freaking fraction of the price last offseason, we weren't interested.
And he's going to be 30 years old. I mean, so what are you going to do?
1 year left on a contract, ready to cash in on a big freaking deal next offseason.
Yeah. I mean, is that something you're interested in? Again, I'm not guys who are in their 30s. I'm not giving them 6-7 year deals. Just not happening. Not from my perspective. It's not. You've already made that mistake how many times?
Yeah. We've got, hold on, Grumpy. We've got Paul who's going to be joining us on the line. Hey, Paul, you're here with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. How are you doing?
What's up, guys?
Oh, not much. How about you?
Just walking around. Typical Saturday, exercising a little bit, trying to blow off some steam.
Oh, much. Oh, you might be walking if you're blowing off steam for the Islanders. You might be running a marathon, my friend.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm also known as Meatball Parm, by the way.
Ah, Meatball Parm.
Meatball Parm. There you are. How are you, Meatball? Well, let me ask you.
I'm doing great.
Let me ask you, Paul. Now, thoughts on the offseason. What are your thoughts on the organization as a whole? You worried? You happy? You content? Where are you sitting?
This is what I actually expected the entire time. I'm with you guys. I don't think Gaudreau had any intention of even coming here. I don't get the whole Columbus move, to be honest. But I think even if we offered $10, $11 million, he wasn't still coming here. Wow. Absolutely no way.
I don't think he had any intention of coming here either. I 100% agree with you.
And I think as for the organization, I think we're headed to another like 20 years ago, where it's just going to be just a bunch of older guys or just not, stars we're not getting. and we're just going to be in the doldrums for the next 5, 6, 7 years until we eventually pick up our draft picks and stop trading them away.
I think we're going to need, in order for us to have that change in mentality, it's going to take, it's going to take a new general manager. It's going to take, a new viewpoint. So the only way for that to happen is with Lou gone.
But I think,
Lou gone. But one thing is,
go ahead, Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
I also, I go off of what you guys were saying as well. I think that it's pretty much a done deal. Barzal is not coming back here. He's not signing back, and I actually am also worried about Sorokin. Is he going to want to be part of this disaster? I don't think so.
Yikes! You want to talk about when it rains, it pours. I mean, that's obviously worst case scenario. You lose a guy like Barzal, you lose a guy like Sorokin. I mean, best case scenario, as we talked about earlier, all the young guys step forward in their game because the Barry Trotz of very critical, hypercritical on younger players has provided them the tighten the stick a little much, and they don't necessarily excel in that system. Maybe with a little bit of more offensive freedom and flexibility, we see them take a step forward in their game. I mean, that's the best case scenario we have. And it's one that I'm not putting a high chance of probability that every single one of those players take a huge step forward in their game.
Right. But that's the way you have to look at it.
They're who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, the way you need to look at it is, does Wahlstrom take a step up this year? Does Beauvillier take a step up? Does Bellows take a step up where you could say, okay, Bellows, you can play on a second line? Can Wahlstrom be that first line scorer? Can Beauvillier maybe be elevated to the second line? Then because your defense is young enough and solid enough, and with Sorokin in net, where you can withstand taking a step back and transitioning all the older players out and just go with draft picks from here on out. Yes, you'd have a little bit of a downtime, but by the time that the draft picks come in, then your veterans would be your Wahlstroms, your Beauvilliers, your Barzals. I mean, that's, I think, best case scenario for the Islanders going forward.
Mm-hmm. I agree as well, but you know what, to tell you the truth, I might just be pessimistic. I think this is who Beauvillier is.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be, develop into this, great player. I don't think that Wahlstrom is going to develop into that either. I think this is who that might be unfair for Wahlstrom. I don't think that they're those kind of players. I don't think they're difference makers.
I agree with you, but Beauvillier, I think at this stage, the one thing is he's consistently inconsistent, but Wahlstrom is still young enough where he can develop.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
yeah, I mean, listen, if you put him on Barzal, on Barzal's line, yeah, that'd be great. Like I said, I think Barzal's going to either Seattle or he's going back to Vancouver. He's going home.
That's a scary thought. That's what gives you the nightmare fuel. But Paul, thank you so much for calling in, buddy. Thank you so much, Meatball Parm.
All right, no problem. Have a good night, guys.
You too. That's what I like to do too on a Saturday evening. Sometimes I go out and I walk or something like that. Especially like, oh man, got a lot to think about. The Islanders are sending me to they're getting sent right to the cellar. Oh man, who doesn't love that? And
when was the last time you took a walk on a Saturday night?
I do it sometimes, Grump.
We're doing this show.
Like, for example, I haven't eaten today. After this podcast is up, I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna cook up some pork, some bacon wrapped pork tenderloin, Grump. And oh man, I'm hungry, Grump, man.
I have a question for tomorrow's podcast. I'm going to ask the people.
Oh God, what are you going to ask, Grump?
How close to meat exploration date will you purchase the meat?
Okay, cool. We could go ahead and do that tomorrow then, Grump. Give me 1 second. We do have another caller here, Grump. I'm going to link him in. Hey, you're here live with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Who do we have calling in?
Hey, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Uh-huh.
Yes. No, I want to comment on the offseason. I mean, it's tough for the Islanders to make any sort of moves without decent money coming off the books. So I'm not sure why everyone expects, any significant free agent to come if there's no money coming off the books, and you have to sign Sorokin, Barzal, and Dobson. So I guess people are surprised, but I'm not sure why they are surprised.
Well, let me just
who do we have calling in, by the way?
Tommy.
Hey, what's up, Tommy? Yeah, I will say this here. We did have cap space. We've got 12 million in cap space at the moment. Now, Barzal's contract wouldn't take place until next year. So even if you were to sign him, let's say, to a long-term deal, you still have contracts that fall off the book after next year. And you got, like, for example, Varlamov's contract will no longer be here, right? You could have managed, if you wanted to, you could have traded guys who had value. And other general managers across the league managed to do that. They managed to trade away, free up some cap space to change up the composition of the team a bit. I think we were at a point to where we needed to change up the composition of the team. You know, we were 16
Right,
points out of a
but
playoff
if
spot. Yeah, go ahead.
right, but he's coming off the books. Obviously, if you add a significant contract, the money coming off has to somewhat offset it. So at that point, adding a player like that without taking off a player like, Anders Lee is probably overpaid. Obviously, Bailey is Bailey. So I guess it's kind of tough wanting to add a player for 9-10 million without any player coming offset it in some aspect.
Well, and who's responsible for making sure that happens, right? The GM. So there's no way that you can't tell me that he could not have moved Anthony Bavillier and Semyon Varlamov.
It's all on him because if he fired Trotz, now the rest is on him. Because Trotz took him as far as he obviously could. I know, in past podcasts watching you, obviously you want the team to generate more offense. And Trotz, could have been maybe a reason, but any other team with a different coach, this team obviously isn't close to what it is. So now I know you wanted, Barzal's not happy. He wants to play more of an offensive style and all that stuff, which is great. It's more entertaining for the fans. But we saw what happened 5 years ago when they were scoring 5 goals a game but giving up 7. So, it's kind of they're in a tough position where do they want to generate more offense? Of course. But that may come to, obviously, hopefully not giving up more goals, which we experienced that years ago when, Barzal had 85 points as a rookie and the team still missed the playoffs. So
I think it's all about a happy median, too. I don't want my team to be all offense, no defense, and I don't want my team to be all defense, no offense. I want my team to be balanced. Right. We've got a goaltender who's a top 5, top 10 goalie in the NHL. Our defense pairing is a guy like Noah Dobson's butting into a bona fide top line defense or top defenseman. You go ahead and make a trade for a guy like Romanov who rounds out your solid top 4. You can afford to be a little more offensive minded because your defenseman ideally and your goaltender, who's a top 5 guy, are going to be able to carry any sort of slack that you may have. I mean, when we look at the time period with Doug Waite, our goaltenders were Yaroslav Halak and Thomas Greiss. And, I'm not saying that they were, incompetent in that. But
look who Colorado had in that. It doesn't matter. Francois was 6-0. So it shows what's in front of them is more important than kind of what's in the net in terms of style of play. They're not good enough to play offensively. They can't play, obviously, that run and gun. So the way Trotz coaches based on what he has in front of them, they can't play that run and gun style because if they do, they're an average team at best. So it's pretty much what he sees in front of them. They have to play a defensive style. They have to win 2-1, 3-2. They can't play that up-tempo style, which now it's going to be very interesting. If they start playing or trying to play more of that style, you hope it doesn't come back to kind of bite them because they're not good enough to play that style. He kind of coached the personnel, what he has in front of him. They don't have those. Barzal's obviously the one game breaker, but outside Lee, Nelson, Bailey, they're not good enough to play a style that fans want them to. So boring was winning. So you hope excitement doesn't turn into more losing, which it may, because you can only coach what you have in front of you, which is a very interesting. This going to this season, no one knows the unknown. Obviously, not having Trotz behind the bench, so it's kind of like you hope that Lambert can kind of build off what Trotz did, saying that who knows if their personnel is good enough.
Yeah, I think what TJ was trying to say is you adding Romanov helps you offensively as well.
I had seven goals in 100 and something games. I mean,
but here's the thing: instead of having Chara back there, who's like a pylon, you have someone who can actually transition the puck up to Dobson, and Dobson will get more involved in the rush because he knows he has someone back there who can cover for him when doing that. My concern is
you're hoping from the defensive end. That's what
Yes.
you're basically saying, right?
Yes.
Because
Now-
offensively, nothing. Then they're slow. They play a pretty, basic.
Vanilla.
Yeah, which
Very
they-
vanilla
they-
offense.
They have to, because if they want to play run and gun, they'll be in the bottom of the standing.
They're not going to play. They can't play. You can't play run and gun when the majority of your team is over 30 years old.
Yeah.
So until we start transitioning away from that, and I think you saw that in the draft this year. Even the defense when we were drafted, not everybody was 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". They were smaller guys, but what do they all do well? They all skate well, and they're good puck movers. I think they've realized that they have to transition away from the 1990s hockey to the 2020s hockey, and hopefully that's what they're doing moving forward.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I guess we're all hoping for. And as far as hopefully Palmieri can do what he did the last 20 games, and same with Anders Lee and all that. Because if those are the two X factors this season, Palmieri and Lee. If those two guys don't play like they did the last 20 games, it's gonna be a tough season.
It's going to be a tough season. It's going to be a tough season then.
Well, Tommy, thanks so much for the call today. We really do appreciate it, Tommy.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah, if you're expecting more from Anders Lee and Kyle Palmieri, forget it. I mean, yeah, they play good for 20 games.
More, but it's not going to be a substantial amount.
Yeah. I mean, Palmieri, everyone say Palmieri was so great in the second half of the year. He had 14 goals in 40 games. That's not great. That's not great. And it's when the season was over.
We got a few comments here, Grump, and again, I apologize. We're not going to be able to read through the comments, guys. Usually we would have been reading through earlier, but we wanted to have the call-in show. We wanted to let people be able to call in to speak. And again, if you want to call in, right, we'll have the line open for a little longer, but we'll have the line open until we end the show today. But how it's a seventh inning stretch, ding, ding, ding. They start singing that for the last time to buy your alcoholic beverages. We're starting a seventh inning stretch here for the call in. So ding, ding, ding. So get ready, guys. Take me out to the ball game. Anyway, what Grumpy?
You're a terrible singer.
What you sing it then? Take me out to the ball game, Grump.
I'm not mixing my sports. I only mix my sports on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show.
That's tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's in the link in the description below or as a featured page on our YouTube channel. Make sure you give it a check out. The Islanders 91 says, I stand with Lou.
There's your one. There's your one.
Maybe he was being facetious too. So I didn't read all of the I just looked at that one. I just said that was the one I saw really quickly. So I said, boop, we'll pop that up. Vinny L said the follow-up question should be, why can't this team attract any big-time players? Absolutely.
Yeah, he would. That's one you want to say.
No answer, no response. You'd have walked away.
That's the one you. You'll need to talk to Lou about that.
We've done a lot to improve this. He would have just beat around the bush and just not answered it. Cameron with the cam said, TJ, make another peanut butter and jelly example again.
Boy, that was bad last week.
Grump. Unless you're pushing things and trying to improve and trying to do better, you always stagnate. So you can't stagnate, Grump. Come on now.
Whatever. Okay, there's your peanut butter and jelly example right there.
Take me out to the ball game was the peanut butter and jelly example, huh?
No, you trying to explain the peanut butter and jelly thing.
Stick it where the sun don't shine, Grumpy. Definitely not a douche says here. I've been through Columbus. It's a shithole. Al Qaeda wouldn't waste a suicide bomber on that dump. Still better anywhere than Jersey. Oh, goodness gracious. Tony Cheese. He also says, TJ looks like he buys meat on clearance, even though his wife is a doctor and he can afford regular stuff. Tony Cheese, I don't buy it on clearance. I buy it when it's at a reduced price.
You buy it on clearance. You buy clearance meat.
Hey, man, guess what?
Don't buy clearance meat.
And they say the sell-by date is the 18th. I still have 2 days, Grumpy. 2 days by sell-by. They're going to mark the price down of the meat for certain. Why not?
You've eaten cheese that had mold on it, and you ate the whole thing. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
I never ate cheese with mold on it.
You're disgusting. It's like an animal.
I love how you didn't even answer that. I didn't eat cheese. That is a hefty allegation you're mounting against me. I never ate cheese with mold on it. Come on.
He eats expired meat, and he's
No,
proud
not
of it.
expired meat. I buy meat. It had 2 days until the sell-by date, and they marked down the price $10. Why
It's
wouldn't I get
gray.
it? It's
It looks
common
like it's
sense.
cooked in the case.
What do you mean?
It's gray. The meat is gray. It's not even red anymore.
Oh, stop. You're being ridiculous.
When you open it up and it smells, well, go ahead, cook it. What was the thing that you ate that was bad? There was something that you ate that was bad, and you ate the whole thing where your wife had to make you throw it away.
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, don't worry. I'm going to get all the information for tomorrow's show. The exact item and the date.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. He's done that before.
I ate that was bad. Meat was bad.
Food that was expired. He drinks junky milk.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You know, Grumpy, if you're going to do that, hopefully you're going to be able to do your research, Grump. But get in touch with my wife. Okay. Alex K says McCabe never planned out either. Hedman would have changed the destiny of the team, and we got Tavares. It's funny. Do you remember? Well, I can't remember who it was that we had spoken with that had connection there. Garth Snow did not want John Tavares. He was forced into selecting John Tavares. He wanted Victor Hedman instead. You remember that?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Hedman would be gone by now, just like Tavares.
That also very well could have been a possibility.
And Tavares put butts in seats for a while. Hedman's never done that.
Yeah, well, winning does butts in the seats too, but it probably would have. He maybe already would have been gone. That's a very good point. Sunday Sand says, "Who do you guys want us to get?" That is still possible to get.
I don't think there's anyone out there right now that we know of. I mean, there might be some guys who are potentially trade targets that other teams are offering up, but do you really think they're going to make a move? I
don't want us to trade for anybody either, because as we've seen in the past, we're going to overpay for who we trade for. That's just overpaying for what we receive and getting underpaid for what we give away is just a freaking habitual. It's just something that consistently happens for Lou.
I just hated the narrative before the draft. Well, the number one draft pick is on the table. Why is the number one draft pick on the table? You're totally bereft of talent in your farm system.
First round draft pick, not number one overall.
Yeah. You're totally bereft of talent in your farm system. Why would the number one draft pick even be an option? That's what I want to know. I would have rather moved a player as opposed to the draft pick.
The players don't have value of a 13th overall draft pick.
Here's the thing. When you have no talent in your farm system, you cannot be giving away draft picks. Hopefully some of these guys get as many kicks to the can as possible. How many years? I mean, because Simon Holmes was a waste of a draft pick. I consider him a 0. That was just a bad draft pick. So I'm considering him not even a draft pick. It's been 4 years since they've had a first-round draft pick. 4 years. Because Simon Holmes was consensus like late second, third-round player.
Oh, man, Grumpy. Well, hey, I know we didn't. Again, I'm sorry, guys. Usually we go through all the comments, but today is a little different. We had to call in. So I guess we're doing a little ding-ding last time for a call in right now here, but we're wrapping the show up. Grumpy, what do you want to say before we start wrapping things up?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man, and thank everyone who called in today and even those who didn't.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is the first time we've done our call-in show this off season. So I loved everybody who called in. I loved all the interaction we had with you guys. I loved, speaking with level-headed Islander fans who, are at a point to where you're not happy and you're not afraid to articulate your displeasure, right? I feel like in the past, people have just been if you have any displeasure, you're upset with the team. How dare you? How could you be upset? Look at this. Look at that. We're fantastic. Oh, man, we made it to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. Aren't you? And some fans still do that. They still say, are you not happy and satisfied with back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals in the last 4 years? 2 in the last 4 years. And I think us and fans of the show, we want cups. They don't, they don't go ahead and hang banners of we lost in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2020 And in 2021, they don't do that. They hang your banner up when you win a damn cup.
That's
And when
right.
you're king shit, you're coup d'etat, and or you're at the top, you're at the top of the mountain, you're at the pinnacle, and we haven't done that. That's always the goal, and I think that the fans and listeners of the show agree that the goal and the objective is to win the cup.
That's my goal always.
Yeah, and
Cup or bust. Cup or bust. Isn't that what Lamoriello and Barry told us last year? Cup or bust. Well, we busted out, and then you're doubling down on your busted ass hand. What? Maybe I think no one listens.
Michael T saying Grumpy addressing people that don't listen to the show is hilarious.
Yeah, we just care for everybody. What kind
Alex K saying new to the show, enjoyed it. At least it's nice. Well, thanks, Alex. Thanks for tuning in. And we got a few of those comments there where people were thanking us for the show. Yeah, Brian P saying great show as always, and thank you guys always for the kind words and again the well wishes always. Thank you guys for calling in. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for commenting. Thank you as always, Grump. I feel like a lot of thanks. I'm thankful today, even though the Islanders have disappointed us. I am thankful today.
I just want to talk about Alex's comment because it looks like he's a doctor. I wonder what he thinks about you eating expired meat.
I don't eat expired meat. Damn it, Grump. Matthew S. said, good show again. And Frank S. said, hit the thumbs up button. That always apparently helps the algorithm. That's right. I know we're only 2 hours and 30 minutes in, but hit the thumbs up button. Yeah. And Sunday Sand saying, great show as always. Thanks, Sunday Sand. Alexander, great show, guys. Thanks for everything. Thank you guys for tuning in. So, again, I like when we get to talk with everybody. And, the reason we do this show is not for anything but, oh, shit. Guess what I forgot to do?
The ad.
Oh, well. Well, we're not doing one. Oh, well. We're not sticking one in at 2 hours and 20 minutes. But, we love that we do this show and we get to talk with everyday Islander fans about a team and about something that's so important to them and important to them and their family. And it's something I really do enjoy doing. I love having the call-in shows. I love getting to talk with you guys. I absolutely love it. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you again, Grumpy Old Man.
My pleasure.
We got a few more. Jake saying, strong work, fellas. Appreciate that, Jake. Jeff F saying, great show, guys. Thank you. Scott H giving us the thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you one more time, Grump.
A little fun in the sun with Scott.
A little fun in the sun, Grumpy. That looks like Greece. Is that Mykonos?
I don't know.
I don't know. But, yep, Alex K gives us a little thumbs up. Thanks there, guys. And thank you again, Grumpy. We'll see you guys this Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully by then, the Islanders will have made a move. Maybe there's a trade in the works. Maybe there's some sort of free agent signing. Who knows? But in all likelihood, there will be all quiet on the Eastern Front once again. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you tomorrow at TJ and the Grumpy Old Man, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you go to our YouTube page and go to the channel, you're able to see, if you scroll down, it's a featured page called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. If you listen to the podcast, it is in the link in the description below. So thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. And we'll be talking more Islanders content this Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you, Grump.
Thank you.